It's not a game.
Insulting referees. It's not a game.
Threatening officials. It's not a game.
Berating young umpires, learning the ropes. It's not a game.
Violent language in the stands. It's not a game.
Verbal abuse from the sideline. It's not a game.
Screaming at a referee in the parking lot. It's not a game.
Welcome to the Griz Show, your ultimate source for everything Franklin College football, hosted by Keith Myers and Coach Alan Hensel. This is your one-stop shop for all exclusive insider information, in-depth game analysis of Grizzly football action. Be sure to circle those dates on your calendars because when it's a home game, IndianaSRN is your exclusive destination for the Griz Show. Now, without any further delay, let's dive headfirst into this week's episode with
It is the Griz Show with Coach Myers and Coach Alan Hensel, Franklin College. And Coach, this week, one more week, and then we got the final week. But this is a big game this week.
Yeah, it is. We're really excited to get back at home in front of our home fans. And, it's going to be a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day today. Got a lot of people out tailgating. I know our guys are fired up about the opportunity.
And that tailgating party, again, everybody knows it's the number one in the country, and it's the favorite place. And, they have the best hot dogs in the whole entire world, Coach, because they're always free for us, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, I've heard our hot dogs are tremendous, so I need to get one of these.
Well, you got to do it at the end of the season, Coach. Maybe during basketball season there'll be a tailgate party.
That's fair. That sounds good. I'll get one in basketball season.
Senior day, you're going to honor 21. These kids have been with you, and it's kind of cool. It's bittersweet, isn't it?
It really is. This senior class is my first recruiting class, and they have really hung together tight. They're a very tight-knit group, and a lot of these guys have played a lot of football for us over the last 4 years, and they do a great job in the classroom. They're very coachable, hardworking guys. Couldn't be more proud of them.
The cool thing I love about this team is they're united, and this senior group has made those young kids and grouped these young kids, and they really have a heart not only for football, but they have a heart for the community, and you got to really love that because they have done a lot around the community of Franklin.
Yeah, they have. One of the things that we take a lot of pride in is doing community service and a lot of outreach within the Franklin community because, they're some of our biggest supporters, and I feel it's really important to give back.
It seems like every week you're improving on things, Coach. Are you pretty happy with where you are, taking away all the ups and downs? You're pretty pleased with this season?
We take it week by week, and every week poses challenges, just like this week does. And, my big focus right now is on us improving every week.
You look at Manchester struggling a little bit here, Coach, but, man, this is a team that can do some heavy duty. You got to play pretty good. You got to play very, very well to come up with a victory.
There's no question, and that's college football week in and week out. It's about the team that plays the best for 3 hours, and I'm looking forward to seeing our guys out there and competing and executing at a high level, and that's our standard.
One of the things I love about the routine that you guys do is when you come through, the fans just understand you, and when you come in at that front entrance, the enthusiasm for that team and that little walk. Talk a little bit about the walk and what is that all about, Coach? Because it's every week at home, that same routine.
It really is. One of the things that I take a lot of pride in as a head coach is keeping a consistent routine for our players, whether that's practice, whether that's their lift schedule, game day, whatever that might be. And it is a very special walk going from our fitness center through the red fought arch onto the field and on game day. That's the only time that we go through the arches right before we take the field. And that's very special for our guys.
It seems like the players like it, but the little kids, Coach, I don't know if you ever noticed it, but the little kids wearing their little Franklin jerseys and they have their favorite player, and it just seems like you have the whole entire community right there at that grass, and it's like a united thing, and it is family at Franklin.
It really is. We take a lot of pride in creating that Fatland atmosphere with everything that we do, and we definitely embrace that, and it's still something that we want to continue to try to make better each year.
Last game of the year at home, is it a sad time, Coach, or what are you looking for?
I'm just looking for our guys to come out and play their best game of the year, and that's our goal every week, and that's going to be our goal today. And but yeah, it's always bittersweet, on that senior day for those guys. And but that's part of the game, and I'm really anticipating a great atmosphere out here today to support these 21 seniors.
And it's kind of cool because you will recognize all 21 of those, and that's kind of cool. That's kind of special. There might be a little tear here or there, right, Coach?
Yeah, there definitely is. Anytime you walk off of that field that you've had so many practices on, so many games on, you have a lot of memories, and definitely a lot of friendships and bonds have been created through the Franklin College football experience, and playing all those home games is definitely part of it.
We'll take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with the coach. It is the Griz Show.
At Morales Group Staffing, we are all about building better futures. And during these times, we are working hard to put people to work. We are now hiring for hundreds of jobs with pay up to $17 an hour. Visit our website at moralesgroup.net or text JOBS, JOBS, to 317-472-7600 to apply now and get hired today.
Back on the Griz Show, Saturday game day. Franklin College taking on Manchester. Game time at 1:30. 1:30 starts a pretty cool start, Coach, and I know that you're looking forward to Senior Day. What do you expect from your seniors? They'll deliver pretty strong today.
I just hope they go out and leave it all on the field, and I know they will. I know we really had a nice focus week of practice, and I know they're excited about this opportunity today.
Coach, this is the last game of the year, home game that it's been a privilege to talk to for 5 weeks. IndianaSRN really has enjoyed our season with you. We're looking to expand that, and I know we're going to work on that during the off season. But your take with IndianaSRN, and
definitely an A+. You guys are tremendous. I love the partnership. You'd be amazed with the rave reviews I get all the way from my parents that listen every week, and a lot of our other Griz football fans love listening to you guys, and it's a tremendous deal on both sides.
We appreciate you, and we appreciate the Touchdown Club that always takes care of us as well. And I tell you what, from top to bottom, it's a first-class operation. Coach, we appreciate it. Good luck, and we'll
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fox Stadium on the campus of Franklin College in the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference football game of the week, featuring the Spartans of Manchester, who come into this one this afternoon at 0-8 overall, 0-5 in conference, and the host Grizzlies of Franklin College, who are 3-5 on the season, 3-2 in the conference. Today's game brought to you in part by the Morales Group, building better futures, one story at a time. Aspen Creek Grill. Why go anywhere else for delicious food? Burner Electric, providing quality electric. We're second to none in quality and performance. Clean Slate, inspired innovation that moves business forward. Piper Logistics, from warehousing to transportation and everything in between. And by Drumstick Dash 2023, move your feet so others can eat. Beautiful afternoon here in Franklin. Troy Naragowski along with Jared Thomas. I'll tell you what, interesting storylines to this one today. And I think in a lot of ways we kind of really have to wait and see what happens here in a few moments with this Manchester football team, because they've gone through some dramatic things this year. What do you see on this one on paper as you come into this one this afternoon?
It starts with the fact that their new head coach in Van Hunt didn't get hired until February because their previous head coach took another job with University of St. Francis as the defensive coordinator. So from that standpoint, with a first-year head coach, you always have things that you're trying to figure out. And putting together quality games on offense, defense, and special teams is always going to be tough no matter who's at the helm, but in particular with the first-year head coach.
And there's some personnel changes. We won't rehash everything that has happened this year. We've had, in fact, Manchester a couple of times up in Manchester this year. This will be the first time I've seen them on the road this season. It looks like Eric James is going to start as quarterback. It doesn't mean he's necessarily going to play the entire game because they've been kind of rotating at that position.
We'll get into the statistics of each quarterback that they've played because they've played three, and they've essentially had a turnstile at the quarterback position. Part of it is because they're not able to run the ball, and it pains me to say, but it does start with their offensive line. Yeah. Guys in and out of lineups, not able to stay healthy, so that presents some difficult circumstances when you're trying to find rhythm offensively. And then at every other position, when you're not able to run the ball and then you're not able to score points, you even have some games where you go for negative rushing yards. That brings down team morale, and so you get down early in games, so it puts that much more stress on offense and defense.
And when you have a football team that is struggling, and as you mentioned, a first-year head coach trying to change that culture, sometimes that can be an easier thing said than done. And it could take a year or two to get that thing accomplished.
That's what's going to happen. You know, when you come in as a first-year head coach, there are so many things that Coach Hunt probably deals with off of the field that have nothing to do with wins and losses or X's and O's. So taking a little bit of time to get that part of it figured out, and then in a tough season like this year has been for he and his staff and his players, you just have to look at one thing that you did well that you can carry over into next year. Because if not, then it feels like this season was just a wash. And I don't feel that it's exactly that, but I think there are some good things that they've done this year. It's just been overshadowed by the fact that they're 0-8 and they have so many large disparities when they're trying to win these games.
And the offense has struggled just scoring points, and when you don't score points, your defense is out there a lot, and their defense has been out on that field a lot this year.
Yes, they have, and it goes back to what you said, offense not being able to score points, and if we take it a step below that, it's because they're not able to run the ball on first and second down. Everything works hand in hand together. So if you have a running back, and they did a year ago, that was first team all HCAC player, and so when you don't have a guy like a workhorse in the backfield, you don't have anyone to condense those third downs, and so now you're in third and long all the time, and it's hard to convert that no matter what level of play you're at.
You know, and we'll talk about Franklin here in a moment. We can relate to that. We had a high school football game that was like that. The one team just could not run the football, and it eventually cost them because the defense was on their quarterback all the time.
And that's just how everything in the realm of football goes hand in hand. When one thing isn't up to par like it should be, other things kind of follow after that. And so that's why you want to kind of attack the head of the snake for this Manchester team with the toughness, the character, which is why Coach Hunt, coming into taking over, he's always been stressing juice and energy and being a competitor, because that's a mental thing. And if you have the mentality, then they can coach you on the X's and O's, just about the scheme of the game to catch up with that mentality that you first have to implement in these early stages.
Before we take a break and talk about Franklin, the one thing we do know now is Manchester cannot fall behind early, because when they do, the offense just doesn't have enough juice to come from a big deficit.
they've only scored 67 points offensively this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some games that even last night it was getting close to the 60-point mark. And so when you think about teams scoring that many points in individual games, but then this Manchester team hasn't been able to eclipse that in an entirety of a season, that definitely presents some tough circumstances when they come to compete against these Grizzlies from Franklin.
All right, we'll come back, talk about Franklin. It is senior day. That means seniors don't like to lose on senior day. We'll talk about the Grizzlies coming up in a moment right here on HCAC TV.
At Morales Group Staffing, we are all about building better futures. And during these times, we are working hard to put people to work. We are now hiring for hundreds of jobs with pay up to $17 an hour. Visit our website at moralesgroup.net or text JOBS, JOBS, to 317-472-7600 to apply now and get hired today.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
As we return, there is a moment of silence for the women's golf coach who had passed away earlier this week. And we want to honor him as well. I know that's really tough as a student athlete and the entire community as well. So we'll take a moment of silence. National anthem here at Franklin College. Let's talk about this Grizzly football team. They've lost their last two, and we'll get into details about that as we go along. The defense certainly has had their issues over the last 2 weeks, but they have a chance today to go to 4-2 in the conference. That's going to be big. Their final game will be at Hanover, very winnable next week. So it could be a really strong finish for the Grizzlies.
And it's tough because when you look at the schedule coming into this season, you would like as a team to grab a couple of non-conference games. And they did not do that. And then they start 3-0 in conference play. And then they face a couple of tough opponents that we know are going to be playing next weekend for that HCAC championship. So that is tough. But this is a team that plays some good football, but they ran into some issues against some teams that are very talented. And so they haven't been able to stop the run, but they also haven't been able to eliminate big plays. And that's where it's really gotten them in trouble. It's not a lack of talent because I think they have that. I also think they have some phenomenal coaching, but putting all those things together is the biggest task at this point.
Well, it all starts with Kai Ross and Garrett Cora, two young men who are juniors and have just had phenomenal seasons for sure. But when you look at Kai Ross, the one thing that sticks out the most is, again, he's had a good year, but he's thrown some interceptions, 12 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. If he cut back on that, he'll be very good today.
And that number can be a little bit skewed because 6 of those 10 interceptions came in the first 2 games of the season. And so I think he's picked up that part of his game. And I think it helps that he and Cora were teammates at Tri-West. So there's a little bit of chemistry at play when those two take the field in the offensive backfield. But I think the biggest thing for Cora and for Ross, one, has to be dynamic in his playmaking. He does really well when he's on the move. And then Cora, I think, in all the games that they've won, he's gotten 20-plus touches, whether it be run carries or receptions. Anytime those numbers are down, they've gotten in trouble.
And they got some good receivers, McKinney, Wright, Malachi Joy, who can really spread the field, and those targets make a big difference.
And as all the games that we have covered this year, there have been a phenomenal quarterback play, whether at the high school level and even here as we see today at the college level, but you need players to throw it to, and he definitely has that, able to pinpoint a lot of the talent that they have in that receiver room.
All right, let's talk about defense. Last 2 games, they've given up 110 points in those 2 games. They've given up, in those 2 games, 1,311 yards. Certainly, I don't expect Manchester to be that big today, but those are some numbers they got to improve on.
But this is a game that you improve upon those numbers. You want to have a way to send the seniors out the right way, as we saw, acknowledging all the seniors that have had great careers here at Franklin College. But then you want to get that sour taste out of your mouth because you know you haven't performed. So I look at defensive end Jairo Ojada that we got a chance to talk about pregame, and he's been a first all-team conference guy a couple years back-to-back. Would like to see his play elevate like we've seen it the last couple of years.
Well, here we go. Manchester will get the football first. Let's talk about keys to this one here today. Manchester, can they keep themselves in the football game into the 4th? And then what does Franklin need to do to get a win?
For Manchester, you can start thinking about wins and losses because you're going to start reflecting on how you haven't been able to perform this season. So I just look for them to perform for the entirety of the game, not having any dips in their energy and also their effort level. And then for Franklin, I just look for a simple response from the last couple of weeks.
Clinton Hearn will tee it up at the 35-yard line. Final home game here for the Grizzlies on Senior Day. All of those players were honored in the pregame. As I mentioned a little bit ago, they'll be on the road at Hanover next week. This kick will sail into the end zone. It'll be a touchback, and we'll see Manchester 1st and 10. Eric James this year, 60 of 105, 609 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. That's a number that certainly does stick out. We're expecting to see him get the start. But as we said earlier, been a lot of change in this program this year. We're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen.
Exactly. But one thing I can say, the constant quarterback flux of guys playing at that position has been a constant all season. And so we might see all 3 today. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So football will be at the 25-yard line. It will be James as the starting quarterback. Jalen Love, 137 yards, and they'll come out throwing immediately. Ball's going to be caught. That'll be Barnett. Big gain all the way to the 45-yard line.
Jordan Barnett was a receiver as we see the flag coming down on the field there. That's obviously not the best way to start a game, but a positive because they're able to see a completion, good protection, a little run action fake. So I think they're off to a positive start on the offensive side of the ball, which, as we've already detailed, they've struggled with this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now we're waiting to see if that flag was picked up or not. They're going to say, I think, roughing the passer. Am I right about that?
Yes, you are.
All right, so you're going to add another 15 yards to the penalty here. By the way, our officiating crew is Tom Burns, Dwayne Hagg, along with Ryan Gilroy, Michael O'Connor, Michael Moran, Sean Wiley, and Chris Beckstedt. Well, that's a nice first play. Think about the pass play, and all of a sudden you add another 15. You're down to the 32 just like that.
Barnett, a receiver that already has 2 touchdowns, a big-time target, as you can see, the taller physique that he has.
Handoff will be to Jalen Love. Again, their running game has been pretty much non-existent this year. They'll get to the 29-yard line.
But part of their running game issues is just the fact that their blockers, particularly the offensive line, hasn't been able to sustain blocks at the line of scrimmage. So when we talk about double teams, when we talk about blocks getting to the second level, sometimes we forget the most important part is getting the play started. And that's with the double teams and the guys on the line of scrimmage in the defensive line. So if they can shore that up, they may find some yards today.
Trips to the near side. They also know that Franklin's had some troubles defensively, so a lot of confidence coming in. Here's Love once again. He'll get a couple out of this one. Looks like he may have gotten to the 27-yard line. Take a look at the offensive unit right here for Manchester.
I look at Duriel Moss, the receiver, is a bigger type style receiver that he's going to play inside, and he's got good speed. And then at the offensive line position, I've been talking about them already, but Connor Hindman, a second-team All-HCAC player last year, and then Austin Ellis, number 77, an honorable mention in the same category a year ago as well.
3rd down and 5. That'll be Moss in motion. A flag coming from the back judge. Delay of game will be called against Manchester. Now here is something that what I saw earlier in the year. Manchester would get a really nice drive going, penalty, mistake, penalty, and the next thing you know, they're out of it already.
It's mental, and after a while, it becomes a habit. And so that's why it's so important that you fix the mentality first, because if the mentality gets fixed, you're not able to, you don't see as many situations like that where you see dips in performance.
Moss in motion, 3rd down and 10. James to throw. And in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, picked off. Could be a pick 6 at the 30, 20, 10, touchdown. Jason Pierre-Louis. And just like that, the very same scenario we talked about, march down the field, make a mistake, and the interception is a pick 6.
This is how sometimes plays and games get out of hands, and the narratives around them can almost be missed because you have a first play with Manchester going down the field. We almost think they're going to drive and get some points. And then you throw a ball, it gets tipped. And when balls get tipped, defensive players get wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we saw there Pierre-Louis taking it the distance.
So now the extra point, things change very quickly right here. And the extra point is good. Franklin leads at 7-zip.
My name is Brittany. A little thing I love about the egg white grill is the toasty English muffin. It's toasted perfectly. It's just a little crispy, but not like hard crispy, but just crispy enough that when you bite into it, everything is perfect.
My name is Curtis, and I love the egg white grill because the egg itself, it's like soft and fluffy, like a pillow. I wouldn't eat my pillow, but I'd eat the Chick-fil-A breakfast egg white sandwich for sure.
They say nice guys don't finish first. So maybe it's time to reconsider what it means to be first.
It's about being your best, but knowing you can be even better.
It's being present, but respectful of history.
You sure you want to make that move?
It's donating something more valuable than money.
It's believing in yourself and something bigger. It's coming from different families, but treating each other like brothers.
It's not just being a man, it's being a Mason.
As we mentioned moments ago, how things can change so quickly. Manchester had the nice pass play. They got the penalty, able to perhaps get into at least field goal range, and then the interception and the pick 6. So Manchester on the return to the 25, and then finally brought out of bounds here on the near sideline on the return, number 26, Arsenio Smith.
It seems like both teams are moving at a different pace, but I want to go back to this play. Everyone pay attention to quarterback Eric James. He throws an interception, but a lackluster effort to at least sprint to where the ball carrier at that point was sprinting towards, which was the end zone. And that's just a little depiction into the effort and almost like the pessimism that's around the program right now. You make a bad play and you respond poorly. That's no way to go through a football season, because when you do, you unfortunately see a 0-8 record.
And Serena Smith will be in the backfield now, and again with Eric James throwing his 13th interception of the year. We'll have it 1st down and 10 at the 30-yard line. And Serena Smith on the call, and there's big number 2, Ojada.
This run game thing for Manchester is two things. The offensive line, which I think they're doing so far in this game, getting on their double teams hip to hip and trying to drive those D linemen to the second level. But the running back has to hit the hole a little bit quicker. There's not time to be dancing, because when you dance, Ojada is barreling down that line of scrimmage to jump on your back like he did there.
I was watching him during the senior day at 6'4", 260. Big fella, isn't he?
It looks like his arms could touch the ground from the standing position.
Oh, my, yes. 2nd down. Swing pass out to Ansara Smith, and he'll be brought down shy of the 1st down, about the 33-yard line.
at a 6'4", 260-pound defensive end position. I mean, those are measurables of guys that go on to play at the next level. So I think that's just a little bit of an intro into what type of talent is in the HCAC.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Division III, but there are guys that can play football at this level.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, Shea McGrath, he might be a little shorter, but he's still 230 on the other side.
An all-conference player in his own regard.
That's right. Oh, nothing there. Answer Smith, and he might have fumbled the football. Franklin says they have it. Once they unpile, we'll find out. Could be 2 turnovers already for Manchester. They will stop the clock and allow everybody to get unpiled, and you can see Franklin's adamant that they have the football. Yep. Answer Smith with the turnover right there, and boy, I tell you what, when it rains, it pours. Take a look here at the Franklin Grizzlies offense.
Kai Ross at quarterback, Garrett Cora, who I almost had to do a little bit more research because I thought he was a wide receiver that transitioned to running back, but he's actually been playing running back his entire football career. And then all of the receivers, Malachi Joy, Dylan McKinney, Rias Moore, the tight end out of Brownsburg. And then we'll get into the big hogs up front once they start doing some damage.
So first down and 10, first chance for the offense to see action. They'll look to throw down the middle, and nobody is there. In fact, it looks like Kai Ross is not getting the start. To me, that looks like actually number 10, which is Jack Henniger, a junior out of Brownsburg. Was a transfer from Marion University, so a little bit of a switch here.
Yes, here we are. It's a little interesting that we're in the back part of the season and we're seeing a switch, but it could be anticipation for the Victory Bell game next week against Hanover.
Henniger will turn, give it off to Cora. Cora, a little extra effort there, gets him to the 24. Here is the Manchester defense.
This is a defense that actually does some really good things. Javion Davis is a playmaker on the back end of this defense. Jamal Hubbard, number 15, although I think he's wearing number 1 today. And then their defensive lineman, Jalen Grimes. This is a guy who can rush the passer. So they have some good players at each level of their defense. They just have to put it together.
Henniger out of the shotgun, set to throw. Steps up. Trying to find someone to throw it to, heads to the end zone, and I think that's going to be a nice catch. Nope, they're going to say he's out of bounds. Spencer Wright went high to get that one. We'll have to see that one again, but that was awful close.
I'll be brutally honest. It almost looked like he was out of bounds, but he might have got that foot down right there, and I think he did. Unless he's saying he juggled the ball at the end when his back hit the ground, but let's give Mr. Wright his credit.
Boy.
That was a phenomenal effort to not only catch the ball at his highest point, but then get 1 foot in bounds, which is all you need.
You know what's interesting about this is I think we deserve a little credit as you take a look at the official right here, and we have a holding penalty against Franklin anyways, that we've seen enough curveballs already with change of quarterback here. We don't know, maybe there's a number the guy's supposed to have and he doesn't have, so
it might be something in the air right
now.
I They're trying to throw us off our game.
Something in the air indeed. So after that penalty, this will be a 41-yard attempt.
Stay there in case it gets blocked. Then you can go to
This kick is on the way, and it's got plenty of distance. It is good. Franklin leads it 10-0.
Can't get to a computer? Then we've got you covered. Just go to the IndianaSRN app and stay up to date with all of your favorite teams. You can watch live coverage or relive the experience with our on-demand service.
Back here once again at Franklin College. Already 10-0. 2 turnovers has really cost Manchester. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Now they got to find a way to battle back.
This is the tough part when you get off to rocky starts like Manchester has done in this game, because really you gifted them a touchdown, which is their only real points of the game. So when you should be down 3-0, you're down 10, and we're only within 5 minutes of play.
That one sails into the end zone, and it's tough. We talked about that earlier. When you think about changing the mentality, just something you can't do overnight, and then all of a sudden when it rains it pours, and now you're trying to get yourself out of a hole. It's really difficult.
And when you think about Coach Hunt taking over the program, he only had about a few months, which for a coach that's already been in a season with the team is plenty of time. But when you're trying to implement, whether it be strategy or whether it be philosophy, that takes a little bit of time, and they have to see some results because of it. And since they haven't so far, it's going to take a little bit of time to get those things moving in the right direction.
All right, first down and 10 here for the Spartans. High snap, handoff to Moss on the end around, and he may lose a yard. Tell you what, Bo Hess, he did not start the first time we were here, and then once he got in the lineup later on, he turned into a tackling machine and had a nice play right there.
I get it, because he's one of the focal points of this defense. I think he's already tied for second on the team with tackles in 41. He's 6 TFL, so he's flying in all over the field like you said.
There you take a look at the starting lineup. Second down, trips left, another high snap. This time handoff, this will be Love, and Love, nice gain all the way to the 35, very close to the first down. Spot him at the 34.
Shane McGrath felt like he should have gotten a penalty flag there because he beat the offensive lineman inside. The offensive lineman, who I have to give credit to, threw his hips on him and didn't exactly give up that holding call, and that's all that Love needed to get for that second down run.
We've already established, with you being an offensive lineman, we don't talk bad about offensive linemen.
that's never in play anytime I'm in the booth with you.
Never, yes. We have a complete understanding of that one. Third down and a yard, and looks like we may have a timeout right here.
Looks like an injury on the field.
And there is an injured player from Manchester. Grizzlies lead it 10-0.
Calling officials cheaters or corrupt, it's not a game.
Insulting referees, it's not a game.
Threatening officials, it's not a game.
Berating young umpires, learning the ropes, it's not a game.
Violent language in the stands, it's not a game.
Verbal abuse from the sideline, it's not a game.
Screaming at a referee in the parking lot, it's not a game.
Third down, I should say fourth down and a yard. The throw over the middle, it was intended for Moss. Knocked down there at the last moment by Demarion Newell.
That honestly might have been the better option because there was blanketed coverage by this Franklin defensive backfield, so it wasn't a whole lot of places to go with the ball. So James might have gotten a favor from the Franklin defender on that play.
By the way, sideline had posted a fourth down. That was actually third down. Now it is fourth down and 1. And so Franklin will get the football back. New punter in, this will be Angel Estrada, first-year player out of Bremen. Fair catch, and it'll be at the 40-yard line. So excellent field position once again for the Grizzlies. Hey, don't forget, keep up to date with every school and every sport on the HCAC website, heartlandconference.org. All kinds of things going on when you think about football. We got basketball coming up. We'll talk to the men's coach from Franklin coming up at halftime. Women's basketball, we're finishing off soccer. It's a great time of year.
You couple that with some phenomenal weather.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, a beautiful day today. All right, so the Grizzlies will give it to Cora. Cora somehow made a positive out of that. He'll get a yard. There wasn't much there.
felt like he was just kind of going nowhere. He's
Yeah.
making everybody miss. Finally, all the Spartans rally to the ball and get him down.
Of course, we'll continue coverage next week, and we'll be previewing some of the games we've got coming up, including that big matchup, as you said, next week between Mount St. Joe and Rose-Hulman and football. That'll be a fun one.
That will be an absolute barn buster.
2nd down and 9. Henniger to throw, finds his man, sliding catch on the far side of the field. Catch made there by Spencer Wright with 13 receptions coming in.
If I'm Henniger, I feel pretty good. My first points that I saw for my team was a pick 6 for the defense.
Yeah.
So that calms the nerves down a little bit.
Well, unfortunately, though, Ethan Corwin wanted to get a head start. Now, he's an offensive lineman, but I don't think it was his fault.
No, it was not his fault. It's never the offensive lineman's fault.
Tell you one thing, I'll be scoring some points with all the offensive linemen around.
Yes,
that's for sure.
You are good with us.
Yes. We talked about it last night. A lot of times you don't get the recognition you deserve. You're working your fanny off down there, hitting those other big guys, and we think about the running backs, quarterbacks, and receivers.
The camera is always focused on the ball, which if you're watching some of the broadcasts, you want to pay attention to critical positions like offensive line, because that's where the real action is going on.
It is. So it'll be 1st down. Actually, they called that penalty on Manchester. That'll be caught at the 40-yard line, a little bit shy of the 1st down marker. On the reception was Dylan McKinney, his 35th reception of the year.
He's having an improved year in production. I think he's already hit the 500-yard mark, 595 yards through 8 games, surpasses all of his totals from each individual season the last 3 years. So he's definitely a reliable target on the outside for the Grizzlies.
2nd down and 1. Henniger ran into his offensive lineman, bounced to the outside down to the 35, 34-yard line, and a 1st down.
We've now seen it twice with Cora. It's his ability to maneuver in tight spaces. He's not a big guy when it comes to his weight, but he's elusive in tight spaces, and he's a tough guy, and he's a tough runner, and we've seen it already twice now where he's able to maneuver those spaces and get some positive yards.
And they're going to throw, waits a little bit too long. The ball pops out, but I think they're going to say he was down. He got hit hard back at the 44-yard line, and that's an instance right there. I know he pumped the first time, but you don't have time a lot of times to do it again.
No, you do not. And I honestly feel that ball came out just before he hit the ground, but without any instant replay. Wow, that's a head scratcher from at least our vantage point, because it looked like that ball kind of came out, but the official might not being able to see it all the way through.
So it'll be 2nd down and about 20. They'll have to get to the 24-yard line for a 1st down. Henniger has 2 receivers split wide to the right, hand off to Cora. Cora inside the 40 to the 39.
Sam Huffman for the Spartans on the defensive line is another player that Coach Hunt feels is a leader for this Spartan team. And so they're going to need a lot of production out of him today.
Franklin, 220 yards rushing per game. We have a flag down. Side judge here on the near side throwing his flag. We also saw one of the other officials right behind that Manchester defense. It's going to be against Manchester. They're offsides.
That technique by the center that we were talking about last night with Nick Bartles, the center for Covenant Christian, where I was saying if a defensive lineman on the interior jumped off sides, I would like to see that offhand go and initiate that defensive offsides. We saw Franklin center do that against big Derek Doss for Manchester. He must have been listening to the broadcast.
Diving catch here on the near side. That'll be Owen Wright, number 85.
It seems like anytime we get into a game, we've already said it today once, but everything we say kind of almost comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to pump or air up our balloon any more than that.
Oh,
but
go ahead.
I think there's more people that need to pay attention to what we're saying.
You got that right. That's why we're number 1, right? So nice pass play there by Henniger to Wright. It'll be a 1st down. Little handoff on a reverse around the right side. 15, 10, and cut a little bit short. Dylan McKinney. And around the 5, maybe 6-yard line.
Getting back down to scoring position for the Grizzlies offense. I see them going with a little bit of tempo. I know they feel like they left some points out there on their previous offensive drive, so they got to make good with some level of points.
Chance to get into the end zone for the first time today offensively. Now for Franklin. Trips now to the left. 1st and goal. Henniger throws to the end zone. 1-on-1. It's going to be knocked away at the last moment. Good defense there by Victoriano.
Victoriano, 6 PBUs coming into today's contest. He's a leader in that defensive backfield, and we see why. Receiver thought he had a touchdown. Victoriano let him know it's not that type of party over this way.
Yeah, no kidding. So Henniger looking for his first touchdown pass of the day. Now we'll have it 2nd down and goal. The football is at the 6-yard line. Man in motion will reset. Handoff Cora. Cora up the middle. Did he get in? I think he's short at the 1.
Oh, man. I thought I saw him reach that ball over the goal line, which is exactly what he needed to get in the end zone, but why not run him back and give it to him again so he can actually make it right?
Or like last night, make sure he didn't get too greedy, right? There's going to be a little tush push right there, and I believe he got in. Touchdown. Henniger, the quarterback sneak, and it's 16-0.
Now, if I were Cora, I would say, Coach, I should at least get the wave or at least the go-ahead to get in the end zone because I got us all the way down there. But Cora's the ultimate team guy on the tush push, getting Henniger in the end zone, that extra inch that he needed.
We were trying to get a guy last night, his 6th touchdown, and didn't happen. Extra point attempt. Busy first half for the Franklin kicker. It's good, 17-0 Grizzlies.
From warehousing to transportation and everything in between, Piper Logistics does it all. Centrally located, Piper Logistics has 2 warehouses in Indianapolis and a warehouse in Cincinnati, Ohio. Piper Logistics houses over 1 million square feet. Along with our transportation department, we can provide service to half the United States markets.
We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, IndianaSRN. Hit the bell to get notifications for upcoming games and more. Watch as many games as you want, as many times as you want.
Get an opportunity. We're going to run down the other games that are going on today in the Heartland, plus check out the updated standings, and a couple of those games have some ramifications about next week's games, so we'll check that out here in a few moments. The line drive kick will go into the end zone right now. Mount St. Joe and Rose are both 5-0. Defiance 3-2. Franklin 3-2. Hanover and Bluffton at 2-3. Anderson, Manchester at 0-5. The other games today, Manchester's at Bluffton. Watch that. Could be a trap game. You have Anderson at Hanover, and Rose-Hulman is at Defiance, and that could be a tough one there for Rose-Hulman.
Yeah. Right before the last week of the season.
Yeah. Are you looking ahead a little bit, maybe?
Right.
Huh?
Stick that road game in there.
Yeah.
Get you off your focus meter a little bit.
No kidding. You have both games on the road. That's a long road trip too, by the way. Little pitch after the fake. This will be Moss. Let's take a look at the score.
It's all in Core right here. He didn't get the carry for the touchdown, so he said, I'll feel like I'll get an assist, and I'll just push Henniger into the end zone and then pop up for a little celebration afterward, signaling for the touchdown.
And as we talked about before, the tush push may get outlawed here one of these times, huh?
Oh, man, I would hate if it got to that point because we're just making it too easy, something that no one can stop. Now we're going to put rules in place that you can't do it.
Yeah.
I say you just find some defenders that can stop it.
I agree. Plus, that rule book's got to be about that thick, about 2 inches already. Handoff. This will be a nice run for a first down across the 35. New running back in the lineup. That's number 26. Nope, that's going to be Ansarena Smith.
We talked about Bo Hess a couple of plays ago defensively, and right there he got outflanked just a little bit, pursuing on the outside of Ojada, who's technically supposed to be the last man on the line of scrimmage, and that's all that Anderson needed to get through that hole for the first down.
James still at quarterback. We're expecting to see others play today here for the Spartans. James, high pass, picked off again. I'm not sure if that was Moss who was intended for, but it sailed way over his head. And a third turnover already for Franklin.
I couldn't help but notice, watch here, Moss right here gets hit right at the top of his route where he was technically supposed to be for that throw from James. And he gets up, throws his hands up like, I don't think you're supposed to make contact with me that aggressively at the top of my route. So obviously they get away with it. James throwing his second interception for the day, but you know, I'm on this Manchester train a little bit, calling for a little bit of laundry in their favor.
Yeah, no doubt about it. By the way, is Demarius Stevens, the freshman, with the interception. Well, that's tough. You think about 3 turnovers in a game itself, tough to overcome, but 3 in the first quarter. Frank will have the football at the 49-yard line. Henniger to throw, has time, gets hit, completed at the 30-yard line, and more yards down to the 22. That'll be Wright once again, second big catch of the day.
I see why Henniger was holding on to the ball a little bit, and that was just enough to get Wright open. That big 6'2" target that he has at the wide receiver position found the opening in the zone, threw a dart to him, and Wright did the rest.
So already just outside the red zone, Franklin trying to put another 7 on the board. We still have 3:40 to go in this opening quarter of play. Cora, handoff. Cora, big hole, able to get his way down to about the 16-yard line.
It's a couple plays now that Jovion Davis, I believe that is, for Manchester, Javion Davis, I'm sorry, coming on blitzes from his safety position. And all he's doing is taking himself out of position, so the next time Cora runs that run play, a little bit of cutback action into that replaced area that Davis left could be some good yardage.
Second down. Cora bouncing to the outside. We've got a flag down. I think it's going to be a hold. Rias Moore, the tight end. You could see him pull his hands back, but it might have been too late.
It might have been a little bit too late, and I understand that's a tough position to be in. You think that you're blocking for the ball to go to a certain place. It doesn't, and you try your hardest. As soon as you realize that the running back is next to you to get your hands off, it happened a little bit too late.
But he did the right thing, right? My hands are out here. So. By the way, Derek Thompson will come in for Rias Moore. More big kid, 6'2", 230.
I'll give a little insight into what I would have done or what you're coached to do. Anytime you feel a defender pulling away from you, you just shove him toward the play.
Really?
Because then you can show the ref that my hands were pushing him into the direction of the play. You still get the yardage and you don't get the penalty.
Okay, very good. We got some secrets out of you last night, too. I tell you, we just got to keep rolling along here. Give me a little diary.
There you go.
Henniger to throw. I think he was trying to set up the screen. Now throws it late. Ball is going to be dropped. That's going to be Cora unable to hold on to the football right there. That'll be an incomplete pass.
I see why Hubbard is called upon for leadership on this Manchester team. He gets up the field, realizes he's in no man's land. He retraces, gets back to Cora, affects the throw, and then gets it out for a little pass breakup on the screenplay that Cora was trying to capitalize on.
So just like that, third down and long. It hasn't been very much today where Franklin's played behind the chains, especially this deep. Henniger again getting the start today in place of Kai Ross, who was announced, by the way, as the starter at the beginning of the game. Henniger fires and misses. Pass intended, I believe, that time for Malachi Joy.
No matter what the outcome of this game is, I want everyone viewing to just pay attention to this pass rush of the Spartans. They haven't got home just yet, but coupled with Henniger holding on to the ball a little bit too long and them actually being able to get to the quarterback late in the game, I think that could be a bright spot for Manchester as they exit whatever happens in this game.
Well, how about this? Franklin will go for it right here. Just as good as a punt, right? I mean, you have Manchester deep in their own territory. Low snap. Henniger brings it out, throws toward the end zone, knocked away at the last moment. Nice play by Victoriano, the second one we've seen today.
Anytime you see a defensive back running in phase with a wide receiver, you get a little bit nervous because you don't know if he's going to play the ball. That doesn't happen here with Victoriano. He plays the ball and then gets a hand up while also keeping the receiver away from the ball.
Well, the defense finally holds here today, which is good news for the Spartans. Now let's see if their offense can do something. We mentioned Eric James, who gets the start today. We're not sure how much he'll play. And Serena Smith coming out of the lineup looked like he was going to come in as the running back. Going to see Cameron Hovey come in as the new setback. He'll get the call and may get back to the line of scrimmage. Ojada once again.
My initial assessment of this running game for the Spartans is they've gotten some positive plays, which I think is better than what we've seen so far this season. And it goes back to what I said, focusing on the line of scrimmage first.
Yeah.
That always gives you a little bit of breathing room, and then you can start to work up to the second level.
And it's not like they don't have some size up front. They got some big fellas there, right?
Yes, they do.
Second down and 10. Sweep. And then the return across the 25. That'll be Serena Smith. Averaging only 3.3 yards per carry this year, and just like that's going to be third and long.
The other tough part that you find in these positions when you don't have a running game, I was wondering, like, well, what was their running game like last year? Well, I got my question answered because running back David Smith out of North Central High School in Indianapolis, 1,000-yard rusher with 10 touchdowns, first team all-conference. He then exits. Now you have a big problem.
All right, James to throw, and he'll go down. And there is Ojada again. Wow.
He's not always going to beat you with flash because he's a bigger, stronger guy. And as he's shaking up and does the little dance, that's because when he gets his hands on defenders, to play with extension, shed, and then be strong enough to bring down a quarterback with just his fingertips is pretty impressive.
Well, here comes the punting unit once again for the Spartans, down 17-0 here in the opening quarter of play. So the offense, though a couple of bright spots here and there, where consistency comes maybe to the forefront here. They just can't stay consistent.
Exactly, and one of the things that Coach Hunt preaches that kind of speaks to what we've been discussing so far is bringing juice and competition, and that's what they really focused on as they got ready for this season. And so another year of that, maybe they're in a better position next year.
That football, by the way, was almost blocked on the return there for Franklin. Was Mitch McElfresh. Well, they were coming after that one, too. Taking another look at it.
The punt was almost blocked, but at the end, right here, oh, so close. His hands wasn't to the ball. It was almost like his body was there and his hands were outside the framework of his body. That's another technique thing. Anytime you go in for a block, you want to keep your head out of it. Your arms toward the target, body out of it. Man, I feel like I'm just trying to give you as much as I can.
You are a good man. Because I'll tell you what, I'll use it later.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, there's a flag down on the opposite side. They may have just picked that up because I don't see anybody moving anywhere.
Rightfully so. Javion Davis ripped that ball out at the end of that punt return.
Okay.
And a whistle hadn't been blown yet, so when anytime a defender comes up with the ball, it's a little bit like, hey, what's going on here?
Franklin to run the football. First time we've seen Cam Jennings. Earlier this year, Jennings was a heck of a running back filling in for Cora, and I thought he was very impressive early in the season.
It's always nice when you have a backup running back that can come in and continue the workload that your starter has. That just makes you multifaceted in your run game.
So it'll be second down after a gain of 5. Henniger will still have Jennings as the lone setback. And I think that's going to do it for the opening period of play. All Grizzlies 17-0. Beautiful day here at Fott Stadium on the campus of Franklin College. Trying to think a year ago at this time on the 4th day of November if we had a 65-degree day, but I'm not going to complain.
It seems each year, the last couple of years, the amount of time that we get sunshine just continues to get pushed back more and more and more. Next thing you know, it'll look like Florida up here in Indiana.
Man, don't say that. By the way, don't forget, too, because I know you like to get up on time, we're switching those clocks back, so don't be late for church tomorrow.
Oh, that I really appreciate that. You are all right with me.
Thank you. If you want to, well, I've got your phone number. I'll just call you.
There you go.
Sure, okay?
There we go. It's even better than an alarm clock.
Isn't it?
There's no need for it.
I'll call you when I get up, in fact. I'll be the first one to forget to set it back.
Is that the first time you wake up in the morning to go walk the dog?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Is there a go back to sleep after you bring the dog back in?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
We're not staying up for anything else. It'll be second down. You know, we were talking last night, some of the changes I would make.
The list is extensive.
Very much. So when I become emperor, I'll need your backing, okay?
I'll be there.
Thank you. Second down. We switch sides. Henniger will give it off now to Jennings. Jennings breaks a tackle there. And there's a flag down. I think we're going to have another hold against Rias Moore. It might be the glove for Rias.
Tough sledding on senior day for Rias.
He's like, the yellow gloves, I mean, it's easy to see where the hands are once you go with blue or something like that.
I didn't know if it was going to happen a second time, but I think that's another product of the running back bouncing it outside. So he's throwing his hands up like, I'm doing my job. I'm just getting caught in weird positions.
Well, I'd tell Jennings, listen, go where you're supposed to go. Don't force me to hold the guy, okay?
You got what I was trying to put down.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So the penalty will move the football back to the 44-yard line.
It's funny you say that. I had my college coach, Adam Cushing, up at Northwestern. He always used to tell us as offensive linemen with Justin Jackson, who was a great running back for us in the Wildcats, wherever Justin wants to run the ball, that's where he runs the ball. So if you get a holding call, that's on you. It's not on Justin.
So second down and long. Handoff. Big hole, 50-45 Jennings, 35-30, makes it up very quickly, a first down and more. We just talked about Cam Jennings and his ability, and you saw it right there.
I said we were going to touch on this Franklin offensive line as soon as they start doing damage, and watch this damage. Clearing out the left side, throws him out the club, creates an open seam, and all he had to do was just run right through it. I think you and I both, with Jerry, could have all fit through that one.
I agree. Yeah, that was a big one. Throw to the end zone, and that'll be incomplete. Intended for Dylan McKinney, tried to strike early on first down.
You see that ball placement is more toward the sideline because you're banking on coverage and defenders being in place that you want to put the ball outside of their jurisdiction. On that one, he was clearly on top of the defense, so I would like to see that ball more in the end zone, giving McKinney a chance to come underneath it.
We had a game last night. We talked about that. There were so many plays over the middle. I'd never seen somebody throw over the middle as much as we saw last night.
Oh, my goodness.
Handoff Jennings. Jennings trying to find his way up the middle. Gets to about the 20.
The other tough part that's at play for the Spartans defense, they're not a bad defense. They give up a lot of points. I understand that. But there's a little bit of silver lining in that. When your offense can't stay on the field, then you have to go out on the field more than you expected to. So at some point in time, you get fatigued, you get a little bit tired, and that's when you start giving up big plays and points.
So third down, Henniger to throw. Ball caught. And he advanced to about the 10-yard line. There is 85, Owen Wright once again.
The ultimate possession receiver that's always going to find the open void. Second time calling his name. And it looks like zone coverage, and all he's doing is just sitting down in that open zone, and he and Henniger have it going early.
So Wright is out. McKinney back into the lineup. Franklin trying to put 6 more on the board right here. Handoff. Nice cut back up the middle for Cam Jennings. And he'll get to about the 4.
Had Jennings been able to break that tackle, senior offensive lineman Ethan Corwin did an outstanding job getting to the second level, getting on the linebacker, and then finishing with a pancake. Those are just all the little plays that we've already talked about. Offensive linemen, you don't notice until you turn on the tape the day after the game.
Very true. A lot of changes here personnel-wise for Manchester. They were late getting players on. Handoff again, Cam Jennings, and nothing this time.
We've already seen a goal line stand of some sort by this Spartan defense when they forced a field goal after that early pick six by their defense for Franklin.
So now it'll be 3rd down and goal. Football is at the 3-yard line. Reset the tight end. We got finger pointing going everywhere. Now we wait and see who the guilty party will be.
If this is in fact on Derek Dawes, this is the 3rd time that he's gotten into this type of situation. Big fella just has to focus on the ball. I think he's just a little bit excited right now. He's got to bring it down just a notch.
After a short meeting, a penalty will be against Manchester.
That's another one of those plays. It's a small thing, but really it's a big thing. You have them in 3rd and goal. They have to go a few yards to get to the touchdown. Don't make it easier on them, giving them 4 more downs to do so. Get the goal line stop, allow some confidence to be inserted into your defense, but instead, now they're a yard closer.
So it'll be 3rd and goal. Handoff once again, trying to find room up the middle. Nothing this time for Cam Jennings, and now you're looking at 4th down. I'm always a proponent, and I might be wrong about this. I would rather stretch that defense. Unless I have a really big running back. Cam Jennings not a big kid. And I know they've got a decent offensive line, but wouldn't you rather maybe take it outside? We saw a lot of pulling linemen last night. We saw how effective it was.
Yes, we did. And I think there's a fine line between getting outside and then also punishing guys inside. That's why offensive coordinators get paid the big bucks, because they have to have that pristine feel of what to do.
So 4th and goal. Henniger throws to the end zone, intended for his tight end, Rias Moore. It falls incomplete. Good coverage there by Javion Davis, and Manchester takes over on downs.
I don't know what Henninger's route progression was for his eyes, but he had Malachi Joy in the left flat that came open off of a pick route very quickly post-snap. But I'm not opposed to giving Rias Moore a chance after a frustrating start that he's had to the game.
Well, I still think if he changes his gloves, he'll be okay. Get rid of the gold gloves, because that you can see them everywhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no deception that comes with that color.
No. Referee say, I saw where your hands were. I mean, gee whiz. All right, so Manchester takes over, and they're at the 2-yard line. James, hands off, sweep around the right side, across the 10, the 15. That'll be Ansarena Smith. 1st down carry.
There's so many ways that you can run so many different types of run schemes. That ultimately just looked like a dual scheme, and that's just a no-pull power. So the running back's going to press it to the hole inside and then jump outside, and we saw him beat Bo Hess to the edge just with speed. That's a perfectly executed play that comes from a little bit different formation in the pistol.
Yeah, very true. All right, 1st down and 10. I think Manchester's been across the 50 once.
And that was the first play of the game offensively.
It was. Smith again on the carry. He's going to get buried. The last one to hit him was Shea McGrath, but there was a host of Grizzlies there.
It's always a tough day at the office when you have to block number 2, who's been in the backfield more times than he hasn't so far in today's game. So he got it started, and then everyone else bombarded to the play.
So it's going to be 2nd down. They'll have to get to the 28-yard line for the 1st down. Brett Woolsey in the lineup now for Manchester. It's a team averaging just 8 points per game on the season. High snap. Ball caught out here in the flat by Moss, and he'll be brought down He's going to be shy of the first down. That was Hayden Kermode there on the tackle.
It's a good job there by Eric James. It was a high snap. He knew he had Moss into the flat, so he had to jump for the snap, fake the handoff, get it out to the receiver. It was good operation, and it was just enough that they needed to get that big gain.
So 3rd down and about 4. Hear the Franklin crowd cheering on their defense. Throw over the middle. Ball's going to be caught. 1st down. There is Moss once again.
Moss, that's their number 1 receiver. The combo guy. Can play inside, can play outside. Hopefully this doesn't negate that 1st down.
Roughing the passer. We've seen this a couple of times here today. Both against Franklin.
Sometimes when you beat an offensive lineman with a good pass rush move, you're so excited to go make that hit on the quarterback, but it's just in that split second that you've made the decision to hit him that he's already let the ball go. And so it's tough to ask any defender to pull up, which is why we've seen so much disdain from fans and teams with all of the roughing the passer penalties. And what is the philosophy around roughing the passer, how you can land on them? You're asking a lot of a defender who's paid, if we're talking about the NFL level, to go punish offensive players.
Yeah.
And so to have them pull off because you're trying to protect players is definitely a tough ask.
Handoff again to Mansoria Smith. He'll be brought down very close to the 45-yard line. Haven't seen Jalen Love in a while.
Jalen Love, a bigger back, and Serena Smith, more shifty as we saw there. The stop in his tracks, jump to the outside, accelerate, put his foot in the ground, and get some positive yardage. It's the type of shiftiness that you'd like to see in at least one of your running backs.
Yeah, and they got across the 50. So that's good news. Football at the 45-yard line, 2nd down. And Serena Smith again on the carry. He's going to get stopped here for no gain.
I like what I'm seeing from the Spartans offense right now. It looks like there's a commitment to run the ball, which if I'm Franklin, I haven't seen that on film. So now I'm being forced as a defense to defend something a little bit more than I initially expected.
Big 3rd down right here. Trips to the right. Single receiver to the near side. That'll be Jordan Barnett. Handoff. And Serena Smith again, nothing. Tell you what, Ojada's playing well today, isn't he?
He's just found his way in the backfield, and we talk about 2 years ago, he had 14 TFLs, 12 sacks, 1st team all-conference, and then his numbers took a little bit of a dip going back to last year, and I understand why. Shea McGrath on the other side having a career year last year as an all-conference player as well, but you would like to see Ojada maintain that 1st team all-conference level of play all the time.
4th down. Have to get to the 41, and they're going to go ahead and pooch punt this one. Nobody is back there for Franklin. That'll take a Manchester bounce. It was picked up at about the 4-yard line. Almost appeared that, was that Barnett who went down on special teams? Or was it number 11?
It looked like Barnett, the receiver.
Okay, yep.
It looked like he fielded it and didn't look like he was just going to run into the end zone, and then he quickly realized, wait, this is a special teams play.
Well, again, Manchester got things going, got to the 45 and stalled out.
That's a positive drive, though.
Yeah.
That's the best drive that they've had so far in this game, and if we go back to what I said before the start of this broadcast, that's what was needed.
Yeah.
They're going to need to look at this game and say, let's not worry about the scoreboard, but let's worry about consistent performance.
All right, Henniger once again will give it off to Cora. Cora will get about 3, maybe 4 on the carry.
Jamal Hubbard, the first one to meet Cora in the hole, which was a big tackle, because had Cora broken that tackle, I don't think there was going to be anyone in sight to stop him. Hubbard, a 6'3 linebacker, 185 pounds, a 3-sport athlete coming out of high school. I don't know how much he loves contact with offensive linemen, but I do know he likes laying the boom on running backs.
2nd down at about 8. Cora, sweep around the left side. There's just nothing there. Like Sam Huffman may have been in there first for Manchester. I tell you what, I'm still, again, when you look at this, I think I'm impressed with the run defense so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is what you need. This is how every coach in America talks about, can our performance travel? Because you like to see your team play well when you're at home. And so when you get onto the road, can that performance travel? I mean, that's a long trip from North Manchester coming all the way down to Franklin, and I think they've passed that test so far.
So a big third down here. Henniger over the middle, wide open. A flag is down here on the near side. It should be good enough for a first down. It'll be Derek Thompson, the tight end, but side judge right in front of the Franklin bench throwing the flag.
Seen a lot of yellow flags on the field today. For whatever reason, I think both sides have to clean up their play just a little bit.
Well, maybe it was a sideline warning. You got to watch those officials. They're very touchy about the sideline.
Oh, man, but they don't actually flag you for the sideline when they throw the flag on that play. That's the warning.
Yeah.
But you threw the yellow flag.
Yeah.
So can I get some further explanation into that dynamic?
You know what? And I was watching. He pointed to the offensive coordinator. He's like, right guy, right there. Trips near side. Handoff Cora. Flag down. That'll be a hold. That's going to be 65 or 55. One of the two on Franklin. Might have been Ethan Corwin. And you can hear the disdain of the fans. They want him to let him play.
You always love the allegiance that fans have to their teams.
Yeah.
In their eyes, their team can do no wrong.
Yeah.
But the other team is always in violation.
That's why the referees are, according to them, only 50% right. So
there is a such thing as parent coaches.
Yeah.
There are parent players.
Yeah.
And there are parent referees.
Oh, definitely. Yes. And yet not one of them has taken any type of training or classes,
exactly.
have they? But they know. First down and 20. Seen a lot of flags here lately. Quarterback keeper, Henniger. Get a good chunk of it back, very close to the 16-yard line.
Defensive attention on Gore, rightfully so, on that zone read. And Henniger doing the right thing, keeping it, getting what he could.
By the way, don't forget we have men's soccer later tonight at Manchester at 7 o'clock. They take on Rose-Hulman. That's a train, by the way, in case you're wondering what that was. Right next to the stadium. That'll get you awake, won't it? Second down, handoff Cora. And he'll dive ahead across the 20 to about the 22.
Vaught Stadium has an interesting setup to it. I see the lawn chairs with the families in the back of the end zones. It almost feels like we're on campus, but really not. We're on train tracks.
It's a fun day.
It's a great place to be, I guess.
Timeout, 17-0 Grizzlies. This time for Manchester, 99, Doss, 6', 290, and a senior. He'll be assisted off the field, so that will make Manchester a little bit smaller up front. Just over 4 minutes remaining. It'll be third down. We'll have to get to the 28 for the first down. Trips near side, single man coverage, and now to go 4. Cora makes the catch, looking for blockers. And a great defensive play there for the Spartans. Tell you what, they smelled that one out very quickly. Stop made. Looked like number 22 was there for Manchester. That was DeAndre Kirby.
Kirby violently shed that offensive blocker for Franklin and then said, I'm just going to go make the play myself. It seems like it's better that way anyway.
No kidding, yeah. Just keep it simple, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So now Franklin will be forced to punt it away. Manchester has been able to hold Franklin to 17 now. A fair catch will be called at about the 42-yard line. Got volleyball today, Bluffton and Rose-Hulman. That is at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We mentioned a little bit ago about men's soccer at Manchester beginning at 7 o'clock. Of course, next week, we will be over at Rose-Hulman for 2 events on Friday night. There you take a look at the men's soccer championships. Just mentioned that 7 o'clock tonight.
I used to play a little soccer back in the day.
Really?
Not high school, but grade school.
There you go. Handoff around the right end. Big hole, finally knocked out of bounds. Nice run for Cameron Hovey.
Hovey just rumbling and stumbling down the sideline. It looked like he was about to fall, and then as he's falling, just runs over 2 more defenders.
Hovey, by the way, is 5'10", 200 out of Sheridan. So a first down run. Spartans trying to get on the board before the half. We're expected to talk with basketball coach from Franklin, Chris Hamilton, in his first year. Coming up in a few moments. We got a timeout once again. 2:36 remaining. 17-0 Grizzlies.
You're good at making big announcements. We're good at your insurance.
Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, online, over the phone, or in person, and stop knocking on wood.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Following the timeout, Manchester will throw the football a little bit high again, and that has been the case so far today for Eric James. His passes have been too high, and he's had a couple of INTs.
That's what's been going on with the program, too. You do a couple of good things, and then there's a little bit of letdown. So that's what happened there offensively. You've been running the ball pretty well today. Now you just need that ball to get down just a little bit and take the next step and make a big-time play that complements all of the good things you've been doing on the ground.
Eric James now with those 2 interceptions today has 14 on the season to go with just 4 touchdown passes. 2nd down and 10. Handoff. This is a nice run across the 40 down to near the 38-yard line.
I'll tell you the other thing that running the ball well does, it builds confidence for your offensive line. They've given up 23 sacks this season. So when you have that number in the back of your head, you're like, oh, man, the last thing I want to do is getting into a game where we're going to constantly pass the ball. Manchester has not done that today.
No kidding. Hovey, by the way, makes it 3rd down and about 8. James to throw. Over the middle, ball caught by Moss, but nowhere close to the first down. They'll give it to him at about the 36-yard line. But they've been going, and rightfully so, been going for it on 4th down anyway. So
it's not like you have much to lose at this juncture of the season. But then you also could potentially get some confidence and some swagger about your team if you can convert one of these 4th downs.
So 4th down and about 5. They'll have to hurry.
I'll tell you what, if they can get Duriel Moss Jr. in some space, that track speed he has could provide some benefit.
Far sideline, way behind the intended receiver. In fact, that wasn't even close. Falls incomplete. I don't know if he was trying to throw to that back shoulder or not, but the way the
It looked to be a back shoulder throw,
Yeah.
which I like the idea. Just didn't seem like his receiver was on the same page. So by the time the receiver was already into the fast part of his route, the ball was already falling off to his left, so not able to make the play. But I like the idea.
Yeah, well, I was about ready to say the same thing. Looked like the receiver is just going to go down the sideline no matter
Exactly.
what. So Franklin will take over with 1:15 remaining. Their ground game, speaking of the Grizzlies, has been held in check today. The way we had 17 points in the first quarter, nobody scored since. Henniger to throw. That's going to be knocked down. Pass intended over the middle. That was Dylan McKinney.
This Manchester defense has stood strong today.
They have.
They can find a way to get another stop going into halftime. I believe that Coach Hunt would feel confident in what his team and what style they've chosen to play today, and that's consistency, which we've already discussed a few times in this broadcast.
So Henniger, who gets the start today, trips to the near side. He's going to keep it himself, and not much there again. Now, last week at Mount St. Joe, Franklin only had 93 passing yards, and that might be the reason they made the switch from Kairos to Henniger.
But then when you make the switch from one quarterback to the next, you have the starter that's now on the bench. You bring in a second-string guy, but I don't know if your confidence level that the second-string guy knows all of the plays that you normally would put on the plate of Ross, the senior. So that does present some tough obstacles to clear, and so that's why I think we've seen kind of like a basic vanilla game plan by the Grizzlies.
Hand off again to Core, and he just basically runs right into the back of a couple of his offensive linemen. Jalen Grimes, one of those there to make the stop for Manchester. And timeout here by Manchester with 22.8 seconds remaining. Again at halftime, Chris Hamilton scheduled to be with us. The men's basketball coach in his first year at Franklin. They just had an exhibition game against Butler. And so we'll find out what his plans are, huh?
I'm sure that was a tough way to start the season, going against the Butler Bulldogs.
You know, I like it from odds are you're never going to win those games unless you're playing Louisville, who's really struggling lately. But you want to play a team that's going to be really good to kind of find out where you are.
That's exactly what it's for.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no impact on those games, that whether it be postseason play or whether it's even conference play as you go throughout a season. So you do want to see where your team is going into the game. But the other thing that you want to kind of measure is when you play against bigger style or bigger teams, how is your team going to respond?
Yeah.
Because that'll show you a lot mentally how your team is taking it in.
You know, Jalen Grimes, number 13 right there, he's got the moves, doesn't he?
He does not look like a guy who's playing on a team that's 0-8.
No.
He's shown us all the moves and even shown us a little bit of the drip, too, with the pink socks. I don't know where the pink fell into the uniform, but, hey, it works for him. It works for me.
Yeah, he just, by the way, got that tackle moments ago. He's probably feeling pretty good about it. So, and it's a beautiful day. What else would you rather be doing playing some football today, right?
No better thing to be doing.
There you go. By the way, Indiana's still leading Wisconsin 17-14. IU trying to pull off a big upset today in the fourth quarter, too, by the way.
And we know how these things go. As soon as we give someone their credit, they let us down.
They'll let us down for sure. So the Grizzlies nearly have that one blocked. And coming up, I'm not sure if the return man touched it or not. Franklin says they have the football, but I did not see whether the return man touched it. That was number 35, Derek Moore.
This is definitely going to be a call impacted and influenced by the fans.
I'm not sure even if we see it again whether we would be able to tell whether it was touched or not. It was a bad decision, though, to even go for that football.
So this is one of the things that I want to take a moment to recognize. We have a game. We have less than 20 seconds to finish this first half. Your defense has been playing well if you're the Spartans.
Yeah.
As a punt returner, if there's any gray area of if you think you should field the ball, just get away from it.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing you do is you ping your offense back, but you can at least go into halftime knowing that you didn't give up what potentially could happen with the Grizzly offense coming back on the field.
Officials discussed it. They will say it'll be Franklin football. So now with 13 seconds to go, you go to the end zone, right?
I don't feel that punt returner actually touched the ball. But without any of the officials seeing it, they have to go off of what it looked like.
Yeah.
So sometimes perception is reality, and unfortunately for Manchester, the defense has to come back out on the field.
Or we just go ask the young man, did you touch it, right? See if he gives you the truth.
And I would fully expect him to say, no, I did not.
No, I didn't. No way. All right, first down here for Franklin. Another turnover for Manchester. Henniger is going to throw here to the back shoulder, and it's going to be incomplete. Pass intended there for Dylan McKinney. By the way, Franklin will get the football to begin the third quarter, right?
They're playing with house money right now.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, they take a shot to the end zone for a touchdown. They don't get it. They still save themselves about 3 or 4 seconds to get a last-second kick of 3 points, and then their offense come back to start the second half.
Now remember, 7 of these points on the board came on the interception return, so Franklin's been held to 10 in the first half. Henniger brought down from behind. Guess who? Jalen Grimes, who is the dancing machine here today.
I told you this Jalen Grimes in this pass rush was going to be a factor at some point in time in this game, and he just beat the offensive line with speed. And Henniger, holding the ball too long, falls right into the dancing arms of Jalen Grimes.
So Manchester with 2.8. We've got a timeout once again. We're going to keep it right here and see if Franklin will try a field goal right here, because there's really not much else you can do, and try to get it to the end zone and try to stop the clock. That's just not enough time.
This is why pass rushers are such a premium.
Yeah.
They can change the complexity of the games, kind of like special teams. When you flip and give someone else field position, or you steal points and get a touchdown or something like that. But as we see Jalen Grimes playing the guitar, because he knows as I'm the leading sack leader on my team, I just string them right up. And I go right past them, and I make big-time plays.
There you go. Well, it's nice to see that despite having a rough year, he's enjoying himself here today, because I think they have played well. Again, you've only given up 10 points. So this is going to be a 44-yard attempt. So Franklin trying to get 3 on the board.
I'd try to ice him.
Crutchfield. The kick, that's going to be on the way and off the mark, and there will be a return. Time has run out with Manchester.
They might have something on the right side.
Across the 40, 45, and boy, it was exciting until right there. Nearly able to get a nice return, DeAndre Kirby. And that's how the first half will end.
This is a special teams nightmare. I want everyone to watch, everyone that's in the block protection when it comes back into the screen. We see guys walking off the field because they think the play is over. But not so fast, because Kirby had other words and another way to finish this game. And had he been able to get a couple more blocks, he might have taken it the distance. Nonetheless, Manchester put themselves in a tough position to end the half. They stepped up to the challenge.
All right, so the way the game started, certainly not ideal for Manchester at all. And you find yourself down 17-0, but they played even the rest of the way.
This is a win if I'm Manchester, because technically you only gave up 10 points.
Yeah.
And you got to stop, which forced the field goal, and the touchdown, you made them work to get it. So you can take that type of spirit into the locker room, get the guys fired up, and try to come back out and build on it.
And, of course, when you look at the other side, we mentioned Kai Ross did not start. They went with Henniger. The run game has not been there the way you would think it would be. And all of a sudden now you find yourself in a little bit of a battle here, though it is 17-0. You're looking at the second half, and if I'm Franklin, I got to find a way to get that offense going.
And when you look at Franklin's record being 3-5, this is exactly why. There's so much inconsistency in their play, and this is exactly what they've done all season. They get into good positions, and then they let up a little bit, and that's when they allow teams to get back in the games, and they've suffered losses because of it.
Yeah, and if Cora's going to get going, they're going to have to get this thing going pretty quick. They'll get the football to begin this next quarter, so I think that first drive could be big.
I think it's just a result of having a backup quarterback in the game. game because you have someone that you think is going to provide a spark, but then it gets to a point where you need them to kind of go off of the cuff, and he's not able to do so because the game plan may not be as extravagant as it would if Kai Ross was in the game. So they're kind of fighting against themselves a little bit, but nonetheless, they are up by 17 points right now, so they've done something well to get this lead.
I'm always curious why we do a talent cam when I get the best-looking guys on the staff next to me. It just doesn't – it's not fair, is it?
Well, they want to get your beautiful face on the camera.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do. I've heard that story before. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these games. In fact, some of the plays earlier here today, and we'll talk about these scores right here.
Tip ball falls right into the hands of Pierre Lewis. And then we talked about Eric James not running to the ball and allows Pierre Lewis to get into the end zone. And we saw Lewis go out with an injury later in that first quarter. So that was a phenomenal way to start this game, getting the Grizzlies on the board early. They kind of ran with it, stalled out a little bit. So I know they're looking to come back and respond in the second half.
Yeah, and again, as we mentioned, the Franklin offense managing only 10 points. Take another look at this one. This was very close to being a catch right there.
The only thing that I would say, because I believe it was a catch too, but maybe the official saw when he hit the ground, the ball kind of bobbled. And so that effort to bring the ball to a second hand coming in with a catch was probably that gray area that caused the official to call it incomplete.
Of course, you had a field goal involved in this as well, but this is the tush push for the touchdown.
It works everywhere. The Philadelphia Eagles and on down to the HCAC, and it works every time because everyone's on the same page. Cora gets the assist, pushing his quarterback Henninger in the end zone. Touchdown Grizzlies.
All right, when we come back, of course, in a couple of moments, we're going to talk with the head men's basketball coach, take another look at this field goal attempt here at the end that ended up having a decent return. Could have been very scary if you're Franklin.
You let your guard down. I even think about Auburn and Alabama a few years ago. At the end of that game, they give up a missed field goal, and Auburn goes for the touchdown. That's what got Auburn to the national championship game that year with Cam Newton. And those are those type of plays where everyone gives up protection. They don't expect that ball to actually stay in bounds. It did, and Manchester almost went away with a great cliffhanger going into halftime.
No kidding. All right, we're going to talk some Franklin men's basketball coming up in a moment. Your halftime score, 17-0 Grizzlies. Nothing we'd mentioned here at the half. We're going to talk some men's college basketball, and joining us, Chris Hamilton, on a beautiful day here in Franklin. First off, welcome and congratulations. You're a first-year head coach here for the Grizzlies. Talk a little bit about how things are going so far as now you're ready to get the season underway.
Absolutely. Well, it's actually year 2. So
okay.
Yep, so last year, first year coming from Nebraska Wesleyan before, working for Coach Wellman, then came from Randolph-Macon before that. So great Division III experience. That was one of the best parts about coming to Franklin is, days like today. I think when you come out here and you see the environment, it's second to none when it comes to small college, not just basketball but athletics. So got our first class of recruits coming in, got a great group of returners. Enthusiasm is high. Just played Butler on Wednesday night, so got a great experience at Hinkle Fieldhouse. I know that's something that'll be memorable for all the players and their families.
Yeah.
And so we're excited to get started next Friday.
That's why I won't listen to Keith when he sends me those notes. First year coach. Wait a minute, coach. He's second year. So
yeah, no worries.
But now second year, you come in and the expectations kind of come up a little bit, don't they?
For sure, yeah. And I think that's another privilege of, I think, being at a place like Franklin is, success is expected.
Yeah.
Because for decades, not just recent history, but decades, there's been a proud basketball tradition. And it's our responsibility to uphold that, And I think that's something that, again, when you go to an environment and a game day like today, is people are already excited talking about the basketball game coming up on Friday.
Yeah.
Our players like being around these games. They help work, some of the stations, chain gang, ball boys, all of that. So the more that we can make this an entire, community, then we're going to feel certainly the pressure of the expectations, but pressure is a privilege. And, I think with the work ethic that the guys have, exemplified throughout the preseason, that, we're at a point now where as long as our habits are in a good place, then you can live with the result, whether it's up to standards or not. And so we're trying to continue to elevate our own standard so that regardless of the result, we can be proud of it.
You got a good core of kids coming back from last year, and I know you got some good kids coming in. Talk about the team.
So, I think we're really excited. We have 2 all-league performers coming back. Ryan Bostic, he'll be a junior point guard from Decatur Central, so close near here. Lynn King, a junior as well from South Bend Adams. both of those guys are looking to be able to continue on successful years last year. Both have understood and really, I think, embodied, what a good work ethic looks like from your leaders. Jack Hendricks will be a senior for us. He's from Dayton, Ohio, which is where I'm from, so I got to pull for the other 937 guys. But he had a lot of injuries last year, so I know just for him, his last drive wanted to be able to go out on top. And just from the experience at Butler, we now have another reason, to galvanize and really play for one of our seniors, Logan Hudgens. He was had a great summer, had a great preseason, was looking forward to big things for him, and he unfortunately had a season-ending knee injury versus Butler. So I think that's something that, because of how connected our guys have been, they didn't all choose to come to Franklin for me. They came to come to Franklin because Franklin's a special place. And so I think because of those connections, the new guys have really enjoyed getting to know the returners. The returners have not tried to make a divide. They've wanted to, be teaching these guys. And so that type of community, I think, is what's going to make this team special.
What do you expect then out of the recruiting class? How much can they contribute? And again, numbers are a big part of that. You got to have numbers for sure. But do you expect a lot out of the recruiting class this year?
We do. I mean, I think we expect a lot out of everyone that is going to invest in the program, at the caliber that, we would expect to give them as a staff. And, I think that's something that the freshmen have really, really come in, is they have not come trying to take a back seat. And, we've encouraged them to do that, while then also telling the returners, the best programs are the ones that some of the hardest games on the schedule are when you play in practice every day. So the more that we create that type of environment, it's iron sharpens iron. It's a rising tide raises all ships. So that's how we've tried to tell the guys to look at it, because competition is great, right? We want to have that pecking order, of who's like the top dog. But at the same time, like, if you're the only dog, it's a lonely place. So, we need a whole locker room of guys that don't care who gets the credit, while also always trying to compete to elevate their spot, on the roster.
I want to talk about the conference here in a moment, but you mentioned you had the exhibition game against Butler, and I guess you're right, playing at Hinkle's just fantastic.
It's crazy.
Talk about what it meant for you to go there, number one, by the experience, but then from a X's and O's standpoint, what did you get out of that?
Well, I think before the execution certainly is the energy, right? You get to be able to play in an historic place like that. I'm not a Hoosier born and bred, but I'm a basketball guy, right? So, I mean, just being able to be on that sideline, I know that was a special experience for our guys to be able to be on that court, and again, for their families to be a part of it as well. I think when you're able to play against a opponent that has, from a tangible perspective, just that much of an advantage, maybe height or weight, athleticism, it makes us really focus on the controllables, because if we get distracted by things that just frankly we're not going to be able to change, well, then it's going to inhibit our performance. So I think, the first half, guys did an excellent job. I think around like the 3-minute mark, it was 40-32. And so guys were making shots. The ball was moving. We frequently say, the ball doesn't care who scores it. It's filled with air. So the more that we trust that, I think our guys felt a lot of confidence from having that success. And at the end of the day, too, like, highlights are great. They'll be able to keep the highlights from the moments at Hinkle for the rest of their lives, but we're still trying to instill habits. So habits over highlights eventually will continue to get us ready for Berea on Friday.
Okay, let's talk about Berea first, and then we'll talk about the conference. Getting in that first game is so important, kind of know where you're at again. I know the exhibition is an exhibition, but now we're going to do it for real.
For real, yeah. Our guys are really excited. We played Berea last year to open the season as well, and their head coach, it's going to be his second year as well, Austin Newton. He's a great guy. Actually was the two references I had to get this job were Coach Wellman at Nebraska Wesleyan and Coach Merkel at Randolph-Macon. Those are the same two references that he has from his basketball times at Eastern Kentucky to get that job. So we run a lot of the same stuff. We know each other of what we want to be able to do. Last year they beat us by 2 at the buzzer. And so I think that's a big exciting part for our guys this year is, we know a little bit about our opponent. We're ready, to be able to play somebody else, not just ourselves in practice every day.
The conference can be brutal. I mean, you know that already, and you can go anywhere on any night and find out that you're on the side of the losing side of things, so you got to be ready. Where do you stand in the conference? I think preseason poll had you number 6. I don't really pay too much attention to polls. Where do you guys stack up right now?
Well, I think, that is the beauty of being in this league. And if you talk to the other coaches in it, we had our conference coaches call a few weeks ago, And some of the more experienced coaches in there have said, this is the deepest the league has been in a long time.
Okay.
Just with Anderson, Manchester, Rose, Hanover, Transy, they all have a lot of guys coming back. Mount St. Joe's is going to be strong. So I think just when you understand that you do have to bring it every night, it really makes you focus on, again, like the controllables, what can be in things that we have to master. And I think what I love about the league is that there's so many different contrasting styles.
Yeah.
So, you have to be able to adapt, which, I think is ultimately as coaches what we're trying to teach our guys how to do in general.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that we're looking forward to is how can we impose our will. I know right now preseason 6th, we pay attention to it, right? But it's how long do you keep that the focus, because at the end of the day, that's why we play the game. So, I think we're excited of knowing where the opinions have us ranked.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's, it doesn't matter about the opinions, whether they're right or wrong. It's about us of what we can control. And I think so far, things are on the right track. But
good.
Check in with me in February.
There you
We'll
go.
see.
Well, I hope we can. We would love to do some games. We love coming down to Franklin, and I know that an opportunity maybe broadcasting your games would be a big honor for us, and
Absolutely.
we're kind of maybe reaching out to some potential sponsors out there, and it'd be a great thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, coming into year 2, one of the things that we've really tried to be able to do is enhance the small college basketball experience for all of our players. Seeing the broadcast capabilities and knowing what the football team has, we're reaching out to anyone that would be wanting and willing, especially alumni, to be able to have Franklin basketball broadcasted. We got a special group of guys. I can speak firsthand how special this community is, how I've been welcomed into it. But we want others, to just be a broadcast and see like, man, I wish I was at Spurlock Center, so hopefully it can just increase the energy, but we would love any and all support to make that possible.
Coach, we hope we get some people on board. We'd love to see you again. Thanks
Absolutely.
for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the time. Go Griz.
All right, college basketball, by the way, right around the corner. If you want to be a part of it, you can get a hold of us here at IndianaSRN. We'll be back the second half coming up here from Franklin, 17-0 here at halftime. We are back here on a beautiful day. You can see the crowd in the end zone enjoying this beautiful day. Couldn't end it any better when you think about the final game here for the Grizzlies. I want to thank Coach Hamilton for joining us as well. And I know from our standpoint, we love coming here, and we love to come back for some basketball. Might even get you hooked in a little basketball. Huh?
There we go. One thing I heard him say at the very end of his interview was keeping the Indianapolis kids local, one, because it allows families to go travel to see them play. But even if they can't, they have an opportunity on IndianaSRN to watch the games and, tune into that action.
Yeah, we got, I don't know how many hundreds of games we have this year between high school and college, but there's going to be a lot of kids that get that opportunity to be exposed in a lot of ways that normally they aren't. And a lot of schools just don't have the ability to do so. They have the resources perhaps, but they just don't have maybe the manpower to do something like that.
Exactly. And then when you talk about kids wanting to put things out, they don't have enough video, they don't have enough advertising or marketing for themselves. This is an opportunity to do so on the smaller level, like we talked about with Division III, small college football, basketball, whatever the sport may be. And these are why places like IndianaSRN provide such an opportunity and a platform for kids programs looking to do so.
Yeah.
Because we live in an NIL stage when we talk about collegiate athletes, and everybody wants to profit off their name, image, and likeness. Well, it's hard to profit off something if no one has the visibility of that. So I think both things can work hand in hand, and I'm only just doing a little bit of advertising because this tape is going to get into the right hands. And so Franklin, I think, should get on board with that when it comes to basketball.
I do as well. Tell you what, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about what has to be done in the second half. Manchester, again, holding this Grizzly offense to just 10 points in the first half. We'll see what has to happen in the second half in just a moment.
Your hauling or moving project has arrived, and College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving has you covered. Honest. Uniformed. Nice. Knowledgeable. Service. College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving.
Can't get to a computer? Then we've got you covered. Just go to the IndianaSRN app and stay up to date with all of your favorite teams. You can watch live coverage or relive the experience with our on-demand service.
here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Troy Darengowski along with Jared Thomas. Let's talk about second half adjustments that have to be made. Let's start with Manchester. They got to feel pretty good, as we said, and we'll mention it one more time. Only 10 offensive points given up in that first half. Let's face it, throughout the year, they would take in 10 in a lot of games. So defensively, they're doing the job. They just got to find a way to put points on the board.
Offensively, as we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, they're missing a couple of their key pieces, and I think particularly in the receiver room. So they don't have the ability to go down the field because a lot of attention is on Dario Moss Jr., and so they have to find a way to get in that intermediate part of the field to couple protection, how they've run the ball, and getting those receivers in open space to go make plays.
All right, now on the other side, the Grizzlies, offensively, the running game just hasn't been there today. As we mentioned, Kai Ross did not get the start today. Henniger did, but they want to get some offense going. All their points came in that first quarter, and now nothing in quarter number 2.
They have to find a way to go back to what they were doing when they had success on that drive, when they did score points. They did get the field goal. Now, that was favorable field position to Manchester's own undoing, but that was because they were moving the pocket for Henniger. They were actually able to run the ball a little bit. I think things got a little bit stagnant. They were looking at the scoreboard. They were up by 17, and so sometimes when those things take into play, the real-life change that you see is not progression.
Yeah.
And so they haven't continued to build on that lead, and I know they would like to get back to it as they get ready to gear up for the second half.
So Manchester will kick off the football, and we'll see this Grizzly football team get it here in the third quarter. We get an opportunity. We'll try to update you on some of those other games that are going on in the conference as soon as we possibly can. And again, we've got the interest of that matchup between Mount St. Joe on the road at Bluffton and, of course, Rose-Hulman at Defiance. If Mount St. Joe and Rose both win today, they will both be undefeated going into the game next Saturday in a game you'll see right here on HCAC TV. It's going to be a fun one. I can't imagine either one of them knowing what's on the line would lose today, but that's why we play the games.
And Mount St. Joseph is a team that is well-rounded. They can throw the ball with the best of them. They can run the ball with the best of them. What I do know about Rose-Hulman is they have a tendency to give up big plays and huge amounts of yards defensively. So that might be an offensive juggernaut for both teams.
Yeah, by the way, Mount St. Joe averaging 57 points per game, and on the return man puts a knee down. 57 points per game. Now, a lot of basketball teams don't average 57 a game. Come on now. That's crazy.
It's either very little defense being played or your offensive plays and skill sets are of a premium.
There you see it right there. That'll be next week no matter what happens today. That is a 1:30 kickoff time. Pregame coverage at about 1:15 here on HCAC TV. It's going to be, and in fact, we'll be over there for Friday night basketball too. I understand Jerry, our producer, is going to be, enjoying a night with us on Friday night.
There you go.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Here's Cora over the left side, gets about 3.
Didn't he mention something about the Ritz-Carlton or something like that?
Yeah, steak dinners and all that
in
stuff.
In Terre Haute?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, it's great. We'll be out there just flinging money all over the place. And, of course, look at this matchup right here, DePaul and Rose-Hulman. That will be men's college basketball on Saturday, or I should say on Friday night. First game of the year. That'll be a good one, too, by the way. That DePaul ball club's pretty good. Henniger, hands off once again to Cora, trying to bounce to the outside. He's going to earn this one out to around the 29-yard line. It should be a first down.
Him earning it was what we saw at the beginning of that first quarter, breaking a couple of tackles, accelerating through, kind of like where the mesh point was of all the defenders and offensive guys trying to turn for more yards. We saw the Manchester defense kind of sure that up a little bit with their for sure tackling in that second quarter. So we're going to see who gets the upper hand going into the rest of this game.
So it's a first down. Cora, we're going to establish that running game early across the 35. They'll be down at around the 37-yard line. I think that might be the case right now. We're going to get this running game going.
Exactly. Sometimes going into halftime isn't about making adjustments, like you have to do something drastically different than you did in the first half. Sometimes it comes down to let's get back to what we do. And what this Grizzlies offense does is run the ball really well with Cora.
Henniger decides to roll out and throw this time. Spencer Wright makes the reception. That will be a first down at the 43-yard line, so they're mixing it up well early.
And that move in the pocket, like I talked about at the beginning of this second half, getting Jack Henninger outside of the pocket builds a little confidence so he can see his targets.
And they're going to go hurry-up offense here on first down. Handoff again. Cora, big hole over the left side into Manchester territory. He might break it. One man to beat right here. Fumbles the football, but it goes out of bounds. Big break right there for the Grizzlies. They'll keep the football.
And there's two things that I really like on this play. One, the vision by Cora to do the little twinkle toes at the top of the run. He gets through the hole, little twinkle toes right here, excuse me, sir. Then he gets to the outside. Then we have Derek Moore sprinting to the ball. I don't want to tackle him. I want to strip the ball out.
Yeah.
It just didn't stay in bounds, which if we go back to last night, we had the fumble near our sideline in the press box, and you said he was even able to keep the ball in bounds.
Yeah.
It's not a skill set. It's just something that happens to, bobble your way.
And that ball is weird shapely. It just never seems to go the way you want it to. Handoff Cora. Cora bullying his way inside the 5 to about the 2. Are they going to give it to Cora again? Give him the football one more time,
Should
right?
we open the window and put the sign out there?
Please. Got to at least give him an opportunity. And after the big run he had moments ago to get 6 on the board, he'll get the call again. He's going to get stopped for no gain here.
And met right at the point where it was time to decide who was going to win that battle, because there's only 2 places that you can go, and preferably you want to go forward, but this Manchester defense showing some grit on this another goal line situation that they found themselves in.
So it'll be 3rd down and goal. Will Cora get his number called again right here? 2 receivers split wide to the right. Handoff, Cora over the left side, and touchdown from 1 yard out. I told you before, I love to run to the outside instead of running it always up the middle.
No matter if it was on the outside or on the inside, Jamal Hubbard, 101 in the hole with Cora. Who's going to get the win? And Cora got the win there, gave him a little stutter to the inside, sprinted to the outside, as you so astutely said a couple of times today, gets the touchdown for the leading HCAC rusher.
By the way, I only like to run to the outside because I like to run to the outside with my speed, So the extra point attempt is up. It is good for 7 on the board, 24-0 Grizzlies.
You're good at keeping the car clean. We're good at your insurance.
Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, online, over the phone, or in person, and stop knocking on wood.
So I stopped in at Chick-fil-A for lunch and saw Officer Wilson come in. I decided to place a dine-in mobile order and have a cookie delivered to him just to show appreciation for his service for our community.
A few minutes later, I noticed that Officer Wilson had gotten up and left, and I knew he hadn't gotten his cookie yet.
I'm headed to my car. I turn around and I see Allie, and she's running after me.
Mr. Police Officer, Mr. Police Officer.
Usually when someone yells officer, officer, they want to ask me about a ticket they got. I absolutely wanted the cookie. This cookie's delicious.
We look at the Franklin cheerleaders here this afternoon, their final home game of the season, and then they'll put their focus on men's and women's basketball. As we mentioned, coming up here in the next week or so, Manchester on the return. Nice special teams play brought down at the 16-yard line. And that's where they'll take over 1st and 10. That was Andre Harrion, by the way.
As Manchester comes back out on the field offensively, they have to fight the urge to let their guard down. They've been playing with amazing effort today. It's something that it's almost surprised us a little bit because we, as you've mentioned, saw a little dip in their performance sometimes with their mentality. So fight the urge. I understand the season has not gone how you planned, and you found yourself in a compromised position, but you have to finish strong, not just today, but as you get into the last week of the season next week.
Eric James, again at quarterback, and we've got a whistle and stoppage of play, and that'll go against Manchester. So not a good way to start the third quarter. By the way, if you're wondering, I'm still trying to get some of the scores here, and they're not exactly pumping them out here very fast, so Just trying to get an update on the two teams, especially that potentially will play for the championship next week. So after the penalty, it'll be 1st down and 15. Football spotted at the 11-yard line. Handoff, and not much there. Maybe back to the line of scrimmage that time for Serena Smith.
Owen Ogle in on the tackle. One of the many seniors that was recognized on this Franklin college football team today. It's an accomplishment to make it 4 years playing college football anywhere.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's a lot of commitment and time and sacrifice by your parents, so that's always a beautiful moment for those seniors and their families.
It is. So it's going to be 2nd down and long. James flushed out of the pocket, and he's going to get swamped under, sacked inside the 5-yard line. And guess who? Ojada once again coming up with another big play.
26 sacks coming into today's game. I believe that's number 2 in the sack department, and he just chases him down right there. McGrath is the one that pushed him out of the pocket, and then Ojada cleaned up the messy trash that came from it.
So now you're faced with 3rd down the left to get to the 26-yard line for a 1st down. Franklin's defense coming out playing well so far here in this 3rd quarter. Well, it's a tough place to be right here for Manchester. You're right up against the wall. One bad mistake and it's over, and that's going to be a bad pass behind his intended receiver, Jordan Barnett, who kind of looks back at his quarterback and, wait a minute, I'm going this way. The ball went that way.
That's James just trying to get the ball out as fast as he can. Don't want to make a bad play even worse, in particular with the field position that they were in on that 3rd down.
You know, Leon Williams is the center for Manchester, and a lot of his snaps have been kind of high, and my concern right there was if you get a bad snap there, you're in really big trouble.
Usually when the snap goes a little high, that means your butt is a little too high in your stance. So maybe Leon can just sit down a little bit. It'll fix that ball flight just a tad.
You know, if you want to go down and start telling them what you got a lot of good information we could help these guys with, so I'll try to carry the broadcast until you come back.
Well, I don't want you to carry all that weight.
Hey, thank you. There will be a return here for Franklin. Get about 3 to 4 yards on that return. That was Mitch McElfresh, who is their return specialist. So it will be Franklin football. We've got a flag down as well. That's way back at the 2-yard line. This opening quarter here in the second half kind of reminds me of the first quarter. I felt like I was leaning out this in front of you the entire time. We played everything on the left side.
Everywhere we've been this season always has an interesting press box.
It does.
No press box is the same. There are some views that you wish were similar to how the desk setup is and vice versa. But I think it just provides an interesting experience to go to these different places just to see how the press box is. I think sometimes that's how we judge our time at the game. How is the press box set up?
Well, there have been some doozies over the years, I'll tell you.
This is a good one, though. I like it.
The only thing that you don't see happen is I believe that penalty was against Franklin. The one thing you don't see happen, though, is they never ask the people who work in the press box how it should be laid out. They go and lay it out, then tell you where it's going to be.
Oh, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I know. I can tell. GR producer says they're professional consultants. Well, I don't know who they're consulting, but some of them are just like, okay.
Well, the biggest thing is that they didn't consult you.
Exactly. Thank you. I've been in some interesting places over the years, and you're talking about nearly 40 years. It's just sometimes I just shake my head.
And honestly, I had to, as I got into the booth a little bit for the first time this season, it's just one of those things as a player, you just look up like, oh, that's the press box, or we're facing the press box. It was never an experience to like go in it and see what it was like. But this is quite the setup depending on where you go, as some interesting places that I know you've been.
Yeah. One day when you have a free couple of minutes, we'll go to some of those places. Some of them are right around this area too. Well, we've got some interesting situations going on here because I think that from what we saw, the penalty, in fact, they might have been offsetting penalties. Unsportsmanlike conduct penalty looked like right there. So we basically didn't get much out of that, did we?
It looked like it was offsetting penalties, but then it almost looked like he signaled for another unsportsmanlike conduct. I was just as confused as you were. I think our conversation about the press box was a little more interesting than whatever they were deliberating about down there.
Yeah, I agree totally. People, you need to come and visit some of these. And, again, this is fine, but you just know that some of them have been a little bit small for years. Well, after all that is done, Franklin's going to get the football at the 44-yard line. Generally, we can hear the official as you see Henniger throw to the near sideline. Nice catch by Wright, but I'm not sure that the official's microphone works today because earlier in the game couldn't hear anything he was saying.
Yeah. Sometimes you can read it based off of the signals that he was getting.
Yeah.
The signal for this Franklin offense and why they get success is when Henniger, at least for this game, gets outside the pocket.
Yeah.
That works well for him because it seems like he gets a little bit timid and rushes throws a little bit and holds on to the ball a little too long when he's in the pocket. So knowing that, I look for them to take advantage of it.
So that'll be second down after a gain of 9. And Cora taking the direct snap, runs into McKinney, who is in motion, and McKinney now holding his elbows. That was a busted play.
I'm laughing a little bit because McKinney going in motion almost turned into a defender.
Yeah.
But took the brunt of the hit because he ran into Cora. Cora didn't go anywhere and somehow found some positive yards after that collision in the backfield.
So when we look at the stats at the end of the game, will McKinney get a tackle on that, do you think, or an assist or something?
Well, he didn't go down, so it'll just be an asterisk next to his name.
So third down. Cora, left side, big hole, 30, 25 near the sideline and goes out of bounds at around the 16-yard line.
Cora's doing the damage, and he's going to get the notoriety for accumulating all of these yards, but it's all of his blockers. Watch this lane right here. It's just perfect for him to run right through, and all he has to do is just dance around defenders and barely get touched until he's almost out of bounds.
He could have done that in the last play and ran into McKinney. He decided to do it this one, right?
Picking his poison.
That's right. So first down football at the 16-yard line. Grizzlies trying to put another 7 on the board here in period number 3. Pass thrown out, and a halfback pass is almost intercepted. Jalen Neighbor was there. Spencer Wright. A little trickery going on here for the Grizzlies in this third quarter.
I'll tell you what, Neighbor bit on the run fake, got back into position, and almost got this defensive secondary their 7th interception on the year. That group has been a positive for this Spartan defense because those 6 interceptions provide some flow to this team and getting the ball back to your offense. That was a great recovery by Neighbor.
Second down. Cora on the carry again, left side to the end zone, touchdown.
I talked about it in the first half. Sometimes those blitzing safeties get themselves out of position. So if you just take the ball where they are not, it's very simple. It's not very hard. If you take the ball where they are not, you're usually going to find pay dirt.
Yeah.
And we've seen it so far from Cora with 2 touchdowns to start the second half.
I would have just done that both times, right?
Essentially, you called what he should have been doing in the first half.
Extra point attempt. Kick is up, and it is good, 31-0.
Steve Myers, Vice President of IndianaSRN. Thanks for joining us. Do you know IndianaSRN broadcasts 350 games a year? All sorts of sports? Yeah, we do. Hard to believe, isn't it? IndianaSRN loves to put student athletes first on our website. If you're a business out there, we probably could help you too. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org. Grandma from out of state thanks you. Mom and Dad who can't get to the game thanks you as well. In fact, our athletes watch the games over and over again. Our military has enjoyed the games as well. So sit back and enjoy the game. It's IndianaSRN.
Well, the Grizzlies have already had a very successful third quarter. As you take a look at the flag blowing here this afternoon and a day that, if I'm not mistaken, let's check that to be accurate here, 64 degrees. Not bad for November the 4th.
I have a family friend who used to live in Franklin, Indiana, right off of exit 90. And I talked to him as I got here because I sent him a picture of the exit that I used to get off of when I would visit his home. And I said, man, this place looks a lot different than it did when you lived down here when we were kids. He was like, no kidding. So a lot of pride that goes on in Franklin for their sports teams.
Yeah, it's changed dramatically. A lot of people that work in Indy live down here. So it's a great place, only 30 minutes away.
And as real estate continues to grow, people just migrate to places like Franklin. When you go on the north side, it's Westfield and branching up to Kokomo. So
yeah. By the way, we do not have an updated score on that Mount St. Joe Bluffton game. It kicked off at 1:30. Hanover women winning their matchup in soccer today. So congratulations to them. They're the conference champions, and we'll move on to the NCAA tournament. Men will again play at 7. Ball over the middle, nearly intercepted again. Pass intended for number 8, which is Peyton Fry out of Southport High School.
That's the second time I've seen a defender, whether it was illegal or not, reroute the receiver. So I think this Manchester receiver unit has to get a little bit more physical. Just because you run routes doesn't mean physicality is eliminated from the repertoire of things that you have to do to get open.
So it'll be 2nd down and 10. You see Eric James talking to his running back. Boy, almost a bad snap again, and on the carry for maybe a yard will be Cameron Hovey.
That was some impressive ball handling. Caught the snap with his left, popped it to his right to get both hands on it for the handoff.
Not bad.
That was impressive.
We do now know that Mount St. Joe's leading Bluffton in the third quarter 35-13. So it appears they're well on their way to winning that contest. See if we can get an update on Rose Holman. James to throw. Over the middle again, behind the intended receiver. And a late flag coming from the back judge on the far side. Going to be against Franklin.
I love all of the little things that we as football players do throughout the course of a game. Wide receiver LeVar LeSure for the Spartans was open in the zone. He got in the hole, but Eric James was rushed on the throw, so he wasn't able to look LeVar's way. So right after the play, LeVar just mimicked what was supposed to happen. He got into his open zone, threw his hands, caught the ball, and took off for the play, and then throwing his hand up like, hey, I was open over here, so next time maybe try to get the ball to me.
So there's a lot of deceiving going on out there. Is that what you're telling me?
You got to keep morale up. So any way you can find it, we saw with Jalen Jones in the first half, or Jalen Grimes, I'm sorry, in the first half doing all the dancing. It's whatever's necessary.
High throw again, intended for Barnett. He's going to go down. Well, we've seen James throw so many high balls, and hopefully Barnett's going to be okay. He's holding that left knee. We've had a couple of injuries here this afternoon for Manchester. And if you go up and get that, I mean, you never know how you're going to come down on those high passes like that, or somebody's going to be coming at you as a defensive player, so it can be a very dangerous play.
When you go up and try to high point a ball, especially as a taller receiver, I mean, Barnett is a 6'3 receiver, so he's a Lincoln guy. So a ball to be high for him is pretty extraordinary, but nonetheless, as soon as you go elevate for a ball that sails over your head, you then leave your body open to take a beating from the defender or even the ground, and I think he just came down funny and on that knee, so hopefully all is well with the sophomore receiver.
By the way, Rose Holman in the third quarter leading Defiance 50-27. So unless we see those two teams collapse with big leads today, it will be a battle of two teams that are undefeated next week.
Building up quite some steam going into next week's conference championship game.
It's going to be fun. Of course, we'll have men's basketball again on that Friday night, and then football on Saturday. I believe those Indiana Hoosiers may have won today too. So I don't know if there's a full moon or not, but nonetheless, Indiana getting a big win this afternoon in Big Ten play. Take a look at it. It's going to be right there. There's going to be a lot of eyes on that game for sure. And Mount St. Joe's, we mentioned, averaging 57 points per game on offense. Rose is going to have to play well that day to beat them.
Have you watched Rose Holman play football this year?
I have, yeah.
Jalen Hobbs, I said it last night, I'm going to say it again. Jalen Hobbs and Daniel Hury, coupled with Miguel Robertson, the quarterback. I mean, there's something there with those two at receiver and Miguel getting it to them in open space. I mean, two track guys. Jalen is a two-sport All-American in football and in track, so it'll be a lot of speed in Terre Haute next weekend.
So it'll be second down after the brief injury. Handoff Hovey over the left side to about the 30. Clock coming down to 6:40 here in the third quarter.
See Coach Hensel hyping the crowd up, trying to get the sideline into the game. That's a big part of being a non-starter. If you're not contributing as much as you would like, it's your energy on the sideline because it's infectious and coaches do take notice.
James throws sideline, got the first down. Catch made by Woolsey.
James, the quarterback out of Decatur Central. We got a chance to do a Decatur Central game earlier this year. They have another good quarterback, sophomore, Bo Poston.
Yeah.
Who's already set up with about 5 scholarship offers as it stood a few weeks ago to go on and play college football in the next few years. So I think they've churned out some quality quarterbacks throughout the years.
Trips near side, handoff, and Hovey goes no place. He gets stopped for no gain. Second down and 10. Get an opportunity. We may update you on some of the top 25 scores going on in college football. Believe it or not, I mean, we're November the 4th. What, maybe 3 weeks left in the regular season, and we start thinking who's going to go to bowl games, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And then always in the Big Ten, it's always like a 3-team race in the Big Ten West of who's going to make it to the Big Ten championship game. So pay attention to those standings.
Ball is up for grabs, and there's a flag again. I actually thought right there that Stevens was going up for the football, but got another pass interference call here.
He may have been going for the football, but anytime you climb on someone's back to do so, they're going to get you, especially in the back end. Right here we see LeVar going up for the ball, and I think he just prevents him from going up to also high point that ball. So easy call for the officials.
So the penalty against Franklin, we've had a couple of these here in the third quarter. By the way, Clemson beat Notre Dame today 31-23. Indiana beating Wisconsin 20-14.
Notre Dame, some tough sledding and some close games this year.
Throw out here in the near side intended for Moss. That's an incomplete pass.
For the sake of Indiana college football, everyone looks at Notre Dame as the Cinderella story each and every year because they want the Fighting Irish to be really good. And I really like Coach Freeman, a great journey that he's had in his coaching career, and had a chance to play against him when he was the defensive coordinator at Purdue. But it's just something that happens with them that they get into close games and they either surprise you or they let you down. Yeah. So there's no in between with them.
Handoff. Hovey may get back to the line of scrimmage. Well, I know that a lot of Clemson fans were not happy with Dabo Swinney down there this year, but that certainly helps that a little bit today, doesn't it? By the way, Ohio State leading Rutgers in the fourth, 28-16. Texas leading Kansas State 30-27 with about a minute to go in that one. Ole Miss leading Texas A&M 38-35. Well, a lot of close games, including Florida and Arkansas 33-34. Florida with the lead in that contest. Back here, Manchester trying to get on the board. James to the end zone, or I should say to the sideline, overthrows Barnett. That one falls incomplete, and I'm pretty sure as I look downfield, I saw a wide open Leisure, who was at about the 35-yard line, a little frustrated right there because he was wide open.
It's the second time. I saw the first one, you saw the second one. And I stand corrected. I misspoke about the height of Jordan Barnett, the receiver. He's actually 6'5". He's not 6'3". So I don't want any upset family members to get on me for that because I want to give them the correct measurables.
There's some jumping up front. Ball comes loose on a bad snap. It's going to be picked up, but they're going to have to bring it back, as I do believe, as McGrath will be run down. McGrath, all of that for nothing. We got 2 flags down. Things getting a little sloppy here in the third.
It's not an ideal position to be in as a center when the guy who jumps off sides is right over you and you still have your hand on the ball and they're running through your chest. So I get it from Connor Hyman's perspective. But I saw McGrath's family down here to the right that honored him during senior day getting excited because they thought he almost had a touchdown, but a little letdown when they saw that penalty flag on the field.
It's about the 3rd or 4th penalty already against Franklin in this series alone. McGrath will come out after that fumble recovery. Of course, he deserves the break right there. I think he ended up going about, 50 yards before finally they let him know, by the way, you got to bring it back.
Only thing on his mind was getting to that blue end zone.
Yeah.
And he came up a couple yards short.
So after all of that, we're at 4th down and 5. Woolsey, the lone receiver, here to the near side. Ethan Skinner in as a tight end. And Hovey once again in the backfield. James over the middle, and simultaneous hit right there intended for Daryl Moss, and Kermode, the inside linebacker, able to knock it away. And after all of that, Manchester has to give up the football.
We haven't called his name a lot today in Kermode, but he is the team's leading tackler. Watch his hand get right there. His hand was wrapped around the receiver. He didn't alter or pull the jersey in an advantageous way. Gets the hand down, bats the ball down. Leading tackler running off the field with a little bit of juice behind him.
Yeah, good play there by Kermode. And so here's the offense back out once again. Cam Jennings will take over at running back. See if Franklin can score their 3rd touchdown here in the quarter. Jennings looking for running room at the 45. He'll get about 3.
Tough game for Rias. We saw him get a couple holding calls in the first half, and looks like he got rolled up a little bit at the end of that play.
Yeah, he did. He's going to come to the sidelines. I don't think there was an official's timeout right there because McGrath came off the field, or Rice, came off the field quickly.
Never want to stay down too long.
Yeah.
You can get knocked down, but you want to pop up as quickly as you can. Obviously, if you're hurt, I understand that there's a process with that, but I like the hasteness that I saw from Rice as he popped up off, not wanting to stay down too long.
There was a penalty called, the official on the far side. Got a delay of game, a sideline warning again here. This time it'll go against Manchester. Am I right about that? Was that that was
sideline warning of some sort.
Yeah. If you warn him, why'd you give him all those yards, huh? You must have warned him before, huh?
Usually your head coach will give you a heads up about what type of officiating crew you have.
Yeah.
Everyone's a stickler about something. So if I were to guess, I'm going to go out on a branch. These officials care about those sidelines.
They do. They love those sidelines. Looking to throw to the sideline, and that's way off the mark. He had pressure coming as Sam Huffman was breathing down Henniger's neck.
Haven't seen too much standing in the pocket from Henninger, and it's worked well. They've scored 2 touchdowns in this 3rd quarter alone. But sometimes defenses adjust as well. And
Yep.
that's why we saw a little bit of pressure there on that throw, because he knows if I get to this quarterback before he can set up, I can get us to the next down.
Henniger, a transfer out of Marion University. Handoff Jennings, nowhere to go. David Dent, 6', 270, the sophomore, gets the stop.
Flying down the line of scrimmage. I love to see D linemen play physical with their hands, because sometimes that's all you can get on an offensive playmaker or an offensive ball carrier. And that's what we saw David do there, just bring the guy down with his hands. And then a nice little firm clapping of the hands with his teammates as they congratulate him.
So you like it when you see it, but you don't like it if they do it to you, right?
Oh, yeah. When I'm down there on the field, I'm a different person down there.
We're going to go back and look some of your film and kind of see what
I'll
Jekyll
send
and
it
Hyde
in.
kind of guy
Yeah,
you
I'll
are.
send it in.
Make sure we don't get on the wrong side. One of these. Third down and long. Passing situation here for Franklin. Henniger to throw, looking to his right. Drilled that one into the turf. I'm not sure exactly if Boatwright, who is in the ball game, could even dove for that football.
And had the ball been a little bit higher, I think Victoriano might have picked that one off and taken it all the way to the end zone. As we saw him shaking his head, because he knows, man, if I had a chance to make a play on that one, ooh, I would have had myself a day. 2 PBUs in the first half and a pick six.
Yeah. So the punting unit is on as the offense unable to put anything on the board here for Franklin with just over 2 minutes remaining in this third. Low snap, and the good news, no rush, and now the punter's going to take off with it, and he's going to go down, open field tackle, and Franklin unable to do anything with it right there. Wow.
I love to see plays like this. When it's a broken play, you see how people react to being in unpredictable circumstances. The punter there was not expecting to run the ball, but he knew if I try to mess with punting this ball, it's not going to work. He thought he saw a first down, and then he said, I'm just going to take this hit and get off to the sideline.
He will change his mind, I'm sure, next time. Adam Guth just doesn't have as much speed as he needs to make that play, does he?
Doesn't want to get moving too fast, because the faster you're running, that's probably about as hard as you're going to get hit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So first down here for Manchester, Eric James, who has played the entire game, so it appears we're not going to see anyone else. And Serena Smith on the carry is going to get about 3 to the 40.
I'm impressed with this running game for the Spartans. They had 3 games this year against Alma, Greenville, and Mount St. Joseph. They went for negative rushing yards. It's really hard to do, but they managed to do it 3 times. They've put that behind them, and they've gained some good yardage in the run game today with a plethora of options coming out of the backfield.
So it'll be second down at about 8. Trips near side, hash mark left here for James. He'll fake the handoff. Moss makes the catch, and he goes down red extremely well there by the linebacker, Bo Hess.
I see why Bo Hess has as many plays as he does. He can fly inside out and bring ball carriers down, because if he did not, Dario Moss, the track guy, now this is a guy in high school coming out of Florida, Christopher Columbus High School. You can fact check me.
Okay.
Please fact check me. He was a 2-time football state champion, but then he was also a track state champion.
Ah.
And so if Hess doesn't make that play, we might have seen Moss's track speed.
Bo Hess with that big tackle makes it third down and about 12. James drops back in the pocket. Now will carry it himself. Oh, he took a hit right there, and there's another flag. They'll call targeting on that one against Commode. A little too high that time near the head area.
I'll be honest and say James probably instigated that a little bit. He knows if he gets close to that defender and he goes down right at the last second, watch him start to chop his feet. Then he goes right for the slide at the last minute. Then that flag comes flying out of that official's hip pocket. And then he picked up the flag, tossed it a little bit further. Then he got up and spun the ball. He knew what he was doing.
Boy, Franklin's had a lot of penalties in this third quarter, too.
Yes, they have. I think there's been a lot of penalties on both sides for each team.
So now they'll sort it out and walk it up the field, past the 50, and finally they'll put it down at about the 47-yard line. Franklin has one game remaining next week on the road at Hanover. They'd love to walk in there, snapping a 2-game losing streak. Very winnable game again next week for the Grizzlies. So 1st down and 10 could be the final play. Handoff and Serena Smith, and he'll be brought down, maybe a loss of 1.
A winnable game, but it's going to be a tough game. That's
Yeah.
a Hanover team that's going to spread you out and attack you through the air. They have some quarterbacks, a starter, and Colton Richards, and a backup in Ian Rudebush that can get the job done. So I'm interested to see how that game next week will go.
That'll do it for the third, 31-0 Franklin.
Steve Myers, Vice President of IndianaSRN. Thanks for joining us. Do you know IndianaSRN broadcasts 350 games a year? All sorts of sports? Yeah, we do. Hard to believe, isn't it? IndianaSRN loves to put student athletes first on our website. If you're a business out there, we probably could help you too. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org. Grandma from out of state thanks you. Mom and Dad who can't get to the game thanks you as well. In fact, our athletes watch the games over and over again. Our military has enjoyed the games as well. So sit back and enjoy the game. It's IndianaSRN.
There you see the score as we get set for the 4th quarter. Something you wanted to talk about?
The Victory Bell game next week for Franklin and Hanover. There's so much storied history when it comes to that game. But it starts with Bill Barnes. Back in 1937, it was the Ohio River flood of 1937 that affected Louisville, Cincinnati, and southern Indiana and Evansville. And it killed almost 400 people. So a tragic weather storm that came through and took out a lot of people. But it was Bill Barnes, and this story was on account back in 2018 by his wife, Marilyn. It was Bill Barnes and a couple of his teammates that went down to some of these troubled areas, finding what was left from this flood. They end up finding a bell. Now, from there, the story gets a little bit fuzzy because we don't know exactly what the truth is about it. But essentially, Bill took it to his coach at Hanover at the time and said, hey, this is what we should play for when we go against Franklin. And Hanover actually got the first ever Victory Bell game.
Oh, look at you. I tell you what, I love the history. we just don't know if it grew like a fish story once it got going.
Right.
3rd down, a great play almost made there by Woolsey. So it's going to be 3rd down and 11. Here comes the pressure and another throw quickly by James intended for Moss. Falls incomplete. It'll be 4th down.
When you take a look at Eric James' statistics this season, you'll see 12 interceptions, and that's a little bit jarring for a quarterback. But then you'll see he's thrown 4 interceptions in 2 separate games. So you're like, man, that's a lot of turnovers in one game. And then you come into today, I think he's managed the game well. I think he's got a little bit nervous throwing some passes. But even his 2 interceptions today, the first one was a tip ball, and the second one, I think the receiver got impacted by some contact at an illegal point in his route.
A little pooch kick there by James. Will go inside the 10-yard line, and we'll be down at around the 6. Seen that a couple of times so far here in this second half by Manchester, so Franklin will take over. Going to win this game today. Snap that 2-game losing streak, but more importantly for them, go to 4-2 in the conference. See the offense coming back out. We'll see if Henniger will come back out. He will. Kai Ross is on the sidelines. We saw him a little bit early, has the headset on. He was scheduled to get the start today. So let's see what Franklin has in store here in the 4th quarter. Cora will get the call over the left side, and a lot of bodies there. Might get a couple out of that one.
Seems like this is the point in the game where we might see a little bit of a white flag thrown in by Manchester. Guys a little bit gimpy, coming from some piles. Not totally interested in finishing the game because it's gotten out a little bit out of hand, but got to find some level of 11 players that want to finish the game strong and in the right fashion.
Thought it was a pretty decent crowd here for Manchester, but then I happened to notice a lot of the Grizzly fans are going over in the sunshine. They want to sit in the warmth. Second down and about 9 here. Cora, big hole, 15-20. He's across the 30, finally brought down at around the 40-yard line.
I said it when I saw you as we got ready for today's game. I almost mistaken Cora for a wide receiver, and it's all in his build. Look at how long these strides are. So when he makes people miss, it looks like he's covering a lot more ground than the average ball carrier, and that's exactly why he's leading the conference in rushing and one of the most important pieces of this Franklin offense.
First down, Grizzlies at their own 40. Imagine at this stage with a 31-0 lead, if they can just keep running the football and run that clock, they'll do as much as they can. Handoff this time to number 13 on the carry, which we haven't seen much today. That'll be Zane Downing out of Eastern Greentown, 5'8", 180, and a junior. In fact, I'm not sure that any of the games we've done I've seen him carry the football yet, but
it's the first time for everything.
Yeah, see what he can do with a 31-0 lead.
I feel this is a Franklin team that got off to the right foot when Coach Hensel first got the job, and they've kind of sputtered ever since. But I know they're trying to find their footing, but this is a tough conference to play in, so playing consistent is always going to be the biggest test for the Grizzlies.
Boy, how about that second and maybe even third effort there by Downing to get that first down, because I thought he was going to get stopped about 3 yards short.
It's probably one of my more memorable plays, and it's not even a play, but it's anytime you see a pile as an offensive lineman, you just go over to it and just start pushing.
That's right.
Because it builds a little momentum, like we heard that train early on the tracks. It gets louder and louder and louder. That's the steam you get when you go push that pile.
So football at the Manchester 49-yard line. Stack trips here to the near side, just outside the hash mark, and they'll run it, and nowhere to go here. Maybe a loss of a yard. Downing on the carry again, but that front defensive line, they made a really nice play.
It's Jamal Hubbard from that linebacker position. It's a linebacker that's leading the team in tackles, 85 before today's game. As I said, I don't know if he's super physical when it comes to fighting on offensive linemen, but when he gets the ball carrier, he explodes on contact, and they go in the opposite direction.
So it'll be second down and 11. I'm going to see a few new faces in the lineup here for Franklin as well. Colby West, a wide receiver. Number 88 is checked in. Run over the right side once again, getting another carry, third in the series by Downing. By the way, Colby West is out of North Vermilion High School.
Coach Hunt for Manchester and his defensive coordinator, Brian Yancey, they have something, and they have a formula that's working on this defensive side of the ball. Now they just have to bring their offense up to speed so that they can both prosper on the same day.
Lots of flags, everybody participating in the flag throwing contest right there. Would you like to be the official who came from way over there, because you knew you had to come over and tell somebody something.
It's all about showing off that athleticism.
Yeah.
You want to see how fast you can get from the sideline to the official's huddle. And sometimes you are at a disadvantage because you are on the far sideline, so you better get on your high horse.
Well, he was late, by the way, so I was watching him. We get a chance to see him after the game. You got to sprint a little bit faster there, sir.
Got to do some extra conditioning after these games.
That's right. I should probably take up football officiating. You don't really run that much, do you? I mean, it's better than basketball.
That's what you say now.
Yeah, see, that's right. Handoff again to the 50. Really thought as Downing get the call. I really thought just doing volleyball, you just stand there. You know, move, if you're on the floor, you just move from one side of the net to the other.
You got to have some good vision to see if the ball went in or out.
I've got good vision.
And your arms with the flag in your hand has to be simultaneous with what you saw. So if the ball went in, you can't hold your arm up, because then everybody's going to see you and get upset and call for your job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe volleyball isn't my sport. It'll be 4th down and long, so the Grizzlies will punt it away. Not a bad kick here inside the 15-yard line, and a fair catch will be made. They'll officially put it at the 13. Yeah, I figure when I'm doing basketball that when I get to about halftime, I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? That's the biggest thing for me is that I just running up and down the floor, and you get tired at my age.
That's a misconception with officiating. Everyone thinks that job is easy. It's so easy to get on the refs from a fan's perspective, but it's a lot tougher when you're making a decision that could alter the impact or alter the outcome of a game from your own 2 eyes. There's a lot of human error attached to that.
By the way, a new quarterback is in. We'll get you number 14 here in a couple of moments. Scramble here outside the 10 and running out of bounds.
It's Dante Cheney.
Yeah, Cheney's in.
It's a transfer from Willamette University, I believe, that's out in Oregon. He came over. At one point in time, Coach Yancey, the defensive coordinator for the Spartans, was there, so I'm sure he had a little bit of pull on Cheney. But Cheney was this year's first starter at quarterback.
Yeah.
And he wasn't actually able to get the job done. I think he's more of the dynamic threat with his legs at the quarterback position. So I understand it at this point. If you don't have anything down the field, then get a quarterback that can run.
Thought we might see Cheney a little bit earlier. It's Cheney play action. Here they come. Cheney running for his life. The ball comes out and eventually goes into the end zone and out of play. Let's see if Cheney's going to be a safety. I think they're going to call it a safety.
The part that I wasn't exactly able to see is, did he try to throw the ball or flick it? Because if he did, that'd be intentional grounding because he was still within the tackle box.
Yep.
But he compounded a bad play and made it worse. He got pressured. He immediately took off. There we have it.
So a safety. Grizzlies add 2 on the board. They lead at 33-0.
Every person has a story waiting to be told. Mr. Jack comes in every Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
One day I noticed his hat said he was a Korean War veteran. I asked him if he'd ever been to the Korean War Memorial.
No, I never had a chance to go.
That was the day I knew we had to do whatever it took to get him there.
Manny made it happen. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to all the memorials. The World War II Memorial, Naval Memorial, Korean War Memorial. Took all kind of pictures and everything, and it was a good trip, too.
I'm glad that I could be a part of Mr. Jack's story.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Well, we just saw a safety moments ago to make it 33-0, just over 9 to go, and Franklin will get the football back. I wonder why they do that. When you get a safety, you have to give the football back to the team who just got the safety. And it doesn't seem quite fair, does it? But I guess it'll teach you not to get a safety, right?
There's always some underwriting to all of these rules in that stack.
Speaking of the basketball, a little bit ago, that rule book goes from a rule book to a case book, and there's another book. There's like 3 different books in basketball now.
Yeah, who knows?
Man, that's a lot of rules to remember. We'll get good field position here no matter what. Down the sideline, across the 40. How about that? Derek Thompson able to leap over one of the defenders and showing his athleticism. Basketball team, they see that, they might want him.
Special teams is just a display for you to put on all of the tricks and athleticism. He cleared them. On the jump, he didn't get tripped up.
Nope.
He didn't stumble into it.
Nope.
He made it look so effortless. Looked like he's done that before.
You know what? I thought there for a minute he was going to do a triple jump.
This is just when you compound a bad play and make it worse. At that point, when you've already determined to run backwards, just go down.
Yeah.
Because at least you keep the ball. Cheney elected not to, got themselves in a little bit of a pickle.
Handoff will go to number 13 again, Downing. By the way, new quarterback in. It'll be Blake Shear, Evansville Bossy product. He is a senior. Shear at 6'2", 210, if that's the right. Yeah, this is going to be Shear at 6 foot 230. So Henniger is going to get credit for the win here today in the start over Kai Ross. Be interesting to see if he'll start next week when they go to Hanover. Sweep left inside the 25. Be short of the first down by about a yard to the 21-yard line.
I wonder if football would ever go to the baseball format where you have obviously the starting pitcher and then you have the closer that comes in, because as you said, Henniger gets credited with the win.
Yeah.
Obviously nothing catastrophic is going to happen the rest of this game, but if something bad were to happen, does that loss then fall on Shear?
Good question.
I'm just asking.
I would say yes.
It's a tough spot to be in, because if I'm sure, I'm looking at Henniger like, that's on you, brother.
That's right. I see you give up a 33-point lead, it should be on you. Handoff again to Downing, gets the first down inside the 15. Here's always the case, too, as you know, when you're a player that's looking for playing time, no matter what that scoreboard says, you want to show your coaching staff, I'm coming in to play and I'm going to play hard.
A lot of these players might not get the opportunity to play. That's just kind of how the cookie crumbles, depending on what position you play, depending on what happens. Maybe your coach that recruited you goes out somewhere else.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that any coach wants to see is no matter where the game is, do you still have the mentality to come in, if it's a blowout in our favor or not, and perform?
Once again, that'll be Downing on the carry. He's going to lose yardage on this one, about a yard to the 15-yard line.
And there's always two guys on every team. There's the guy that thinks he should be playing more and doesn't, and then the guys that doesn't really play but is just foaming at the bit to get out there.
Yeah.
And it's usually the guys that are foaming at the mouth to get out and get some action that perform well, and the guys that are too cool for school just stick out like a sore thumb.
Coming up on 6 minutes. The second down and 11. Most of the starters, at least in the skilled position, are out of the lineup. Downing will get cut short. Nice play there by Williams, the linebacker.
Downing going to have to pay the athletic training room a visit after this game because he's getting punished on some of these hits.
Yeah, he is. Looks like the offensive line is staying in the lineup here to help on this drive. Might be their final series of the day, but again, all the skilled players have now certainly headed for the sidelines for Franklin.
You know how it is. The big guys always get stuck in the fire,
yeah,
and all the pretty boys get to come off and look cool with their hair blowing in the wind and their cool spats and all that, but us big guys are just going to get the job done and keep mauling people.
Handoff once again to Downing. Downing fighting his way inside the 10. Yeah, they call the offensive linemen the big uglies, you know, and then you got all the guys over. Look, they're over waving to the girls and everything. Hey, we're done with the game, you know. Field goal unit will come on. And
they should call them the big dirties.
Yeah.
Big guys that do the dirty work. The uglies just sends this connotation that us offensive linemen are poor looking. I don't know if I totally agree with it.
I don't either. I think that's a terrible thing to say. I'm going to change it myself. So this will be a 25-yard attempt. Kick is up. It is good. 3 more on the board here for the Grizzlies. Now leading at 36-0. Well, as I've mentioned time and time again, when I become emperor and you can help me decide what changes we're going to make, that'll be one of them. We'll call the offensive linemen no longer the big uglies.
It's the big dirties.
Big dirties.
There you go.
We won't allow the skilled guys come over here and start talking to their girlfriends while the game's going on or anything like that.
And another thing, while we're on this topic, every practice in America always has the offensive lineman and defensive lineman traveling the furthest. So if you break the huddle right in the middle of the field before practice, defensive line goes to one end zone, offensive line goes to another end zone. All the skilled guys have to travel 2 feet. It's like, this seems backwards.
Oh, boy, do we got a lot to change.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Make the world right if we can. So Manchester will get it back. Could be the final time they'll touch the football here today, and Manchester will fall to 0-9 on the season, 0-6 in conference play. They'll play Anderson coming up next week, and if I'm not mistaken, don't we have that game on our network next week as well? So 2 teams that will be looking for their first win.
So it'll be a dogfight next week to see who can get their first win to end the season.
Yeah, that'll be big. A lot of people may think, what's the big deal there? But you don't want to have that.
You don't want to be that team that finishes the season winless.
No, not at all. Return across the 15 to about the 18-yard line. See if Cheney will come back out. He will.
But even for Manchester last week against Defiance, they were winning at halftime by 4.
Yeah.
21-17, and that game quickly got out of hand in the third quarter, as we saw it did here today. So they just have to find a way to not only just compete in games, but sustain it.
Yeah.
It's the sustainability, but they have to raise their level of play to be more consistent than it has been this year.
As we said, they've given up 19 offensive points in the second half. They only gave up 10 in the first half, and we mentioned how that was a big key for them if they could just sustain that in the second half. But unfortunately, still the offense hasn't been able to do much. Cheney in at quarterback. He'll look to throw, fires to the sideline, and almost intercepted.
The other part that Coach Hunt has to figure out is what is he going to do at the quarterback position. Oftentimes, you go to multiple quarterbacks to see who is going to operate the best. And when you don't find that, you then go to other options to see if you can get a spark. But sometimes you have to take the good with the bad because there is a lot of lessons that can be learned and improvement with that process.
Peyton Rubel in the ball game now for Franklin. There's a whole host of different players in the lineup now for this Franklin defense.
I didn't see a whole lot of focus on the game from those fans in the lawn.
Hey, what are you doing later?
Right.
Usually you'd see a lot of the fans leave by now, but a few of them have hung around. Across the 20 to the 22-yard line on the carry. That'll be Justin Griz. Griz is out of Columbia City High School up in the Fort Wayne area. He's a first-year player. Well, you couldn't have picked a better day on a Saturday afternoon if you just wanted to get out, watch some college football, enjoy the nice weather, because in about 2 weeks we'll probably be thinking snow again or something. You know, it's going to be chilly.
We'll have to cut this broadcast on just to enjoy the beautiful weather from an inside seat and watching it on a computer screen.
Exactly. Trips to the right. Cheney, play action, throws high, and Moss, I mean, he's only 5'11". He'd have to be about 6'5" to catch that ball.
And they do have a 6'5" receiver,
yeah,
Jordan Barnett, so maybe if they could just flip-flop receivers who goes for those high balls.
Yeah, but then we seen Barnett. They threw to him early, and he couldn't get it.
Higher, yeah.
6'11" to catch a couple of those.
One thing I will say that I have been impressed with in so many of the games that we've had this year is the tailgate presence at these campuses.
Yep.
I pulled up today like, wow, they are ready for today's game. And obviously a lot at stake with senior day, so a lot of families probably traveling from far and wide to come pay homage to their family members and even just this football team.
Yeah, they do a great job here at Franklin College in their tailgating. They're here pretty early in the day. Franklin's going to get a timeout right here with a 36-0 lead. We mentioned next week we'll have what will be the championship game. We mentioned earlier that both Rose-Hulman and Mount St. Joe are winning big, so I don't expect them to lose. So who do you like in that one next week?
I haven't got a chance to watch Mount St. Joe play extensively. I've only been able to see them statistically. So I may give the edge to Mount St. Joe because they're a more complete team than I feel like Rose-Hulman is. But I do know, having seen Rose-Hulman a couple times this year, when that offense gets rolling, they're hard to stop. So it may be an offensive game, but it ultimately might come down to who's the more well-rounded team. So we might even see a flop-sided game where it comes down to defense.
Yeah.
Because that'll have to be at stake, because you got to win at least by one to go on to the FCS playoffs, or the Division III playoffs, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mount St. Joe averaging 57.3 points per game. They're giving up just 184 passing yards, 118 on the ground. So he fumbles the attempt, and it's going to be a very, very short punt right here. Did he even get back to the line of scrimmage? I think he got right back to the line of scrimmage there.
Low snap. He bobbled the catch from there. Then he didn't know if he wanted to kick it, and he just said, forget it. I'm going to just try my best.
You at that stage, just run and take off with it, okay?
We already saw Franklin's punter do that.
Yeah. I figure I might look a little, as we see a penalty flag is against Franklin. Way back at the – how did he get that flag way back there at the 39-yard line?
I'm still in awe about how things go down with these officials.
Wow. The back judge at the Franklin 39-yard line is where that flag was. Everything was way down here inside the 30. That's amazing.
He must have like 40-20 vision.
No kidding. Yeah, he got laser vision. You see through everything, but nonetheless, it's still going to be fourth down. This time Cheney's going to come back out. I'm not sure if he's going to actually take the snap, because the punter's and Cheney's actually in there to call the signals here on this snap and a block. This time they'll get it away. He will take a bounce there for Manchester inside the 40 and finally be down to about the 39-yard line. Well, if you're Franklin now, you just basically run this out. I think Cora's back out there on offense, number 2, unless we got 2 number 2s, which we may have. But Cora,
I think he's just out there for moral support.
All right, good.
Getting on the guys that are going in, getting on their hats.
Several different players again coming in here in the last quarter. You see Jordan Meyer, the tight end, is coming in as well. We saw a little bit of him earlier. And once again, Shear, the quarterback. Handoff, big-time hit on the left side by Dave Paul, who came up from his safety spot to make the tackle.
One of the camera views that I saw just before this offensive possession got started was a girl sitting in a lawn chair, kind of squinting, looking at the scoreboard, probably wondering, how much longer is this going to get dragged out?
Is it time to go
We're
home
almost
yet?
home. 3 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
We can do it.
Smith on the carry, number 32 that time for Franklin. When they start looking at their watch and looking out there like that, you know, they're ready to go home, that's for sure. So it'll be second down. Smith on the carry again will get about 3 yards on this one, so he got past the line of scrimmage. It'll be third down and 9.
Got some people packing it up early. They said, I've seen enough.
Yep.
Time to get out of here.
Got to beat that traffic. A lot of people stay around. When you and I will be walking out, they'll be grilling still.
Yeah.
Enjoying the.
That'll be all the time we need to get back on 65.
That's right. Down to the last couple of plays here this afternoon. As I mentioned, Franklin will pick up their 4th win in the conference. All their wins this year coming in conference play. They'll be 4-5 overall. If they get a win next week, they'll have a 500 season. Hand off to Smith again. He'll get a couple out of this one.
This is season number 2 since they last won that victory bell against Hanover back in 21. That was the first victory bell win for Coach Hensel and this team since 2017. Actually, the same year that Manchester had a winning season. So it's been a long time for Manchester having a winning season. And obviously since 2017, only winning the victory bell for the second time in 2021 has been a long time since Franklin has consistently gotten that victory.
Take a look at the soccer course championships here on HCAC TV as we've got a timeout down on the field. Next Friday night, too, we'll have our first men's college basketball game over at Rose-Hulman. They'll take on DePauw. Of course, that's always a good rivalry between those two teams. And, of course, on Saturday, football. See one of them right there in the Anderson-Manchester contest at 1:30. And, of course, we'll have that championship matchup, Mount St. Joe and Rose-Hulman. The winner of that will go on to the NCAA playoffs in Division III. So the punting unit is on 4th down. Thought maybe Franklin would be able to run out the football and run out the time on this one, but unfortunately they'll have to give it back one more time. No rush on this one, so Manchester trying to set up some possible return if they can, but that ball dies at the 30-yard line. That's where it will be down, and it'll be 1st and 10.
And let's not let it go over our heads that this is senior day, and a lot of guys that don't play get an opportunity to get in on some of the action in today's contest, and that's always a welcome sight for family and friends, and even guys that may not have seen as much action throughout their college career to be able to go out on a high note.
So it'll be 1st down for Manchester. Cheney stays in as the quarterback. He'll have 2 receivers here to the near side as we're down to minute 44. Handoff and not much there on the carry. That was number 24 that time for Manchester. That'll be Justice Goree. Franklin, all kinds of different names on defense getting a chance to play, including Max Malone, freshman player out of Fort Wayne Snyder. Trips near side, Cheney to throw. Cheney's going to get brought down before he gets to the line of scrimmage. And, of course, we just talked about number 41 right there, Max Malone, getting the sack, his first of the ball game.
The other part, too, for freshmen, you don't get in on the action. And for Malone, you have McGrath in front of you. You have Ojada in front of you. But you can't say that by the end of the season that you didn't record some statistics.
Yeah.
Because you can go back to the stat book and say, look what I did at the end of that Manchester game.
And, of course, when you think about learning from those guys in front of you, too, is really big. Should be the final play of this one. Cheney taking his time, getting the final play going here with 30 seconds to go. The handoff and nice hole. That's going to be short of a 1st down, about the 35-yard line. And see if they will try to get one more off. I think they may just say, let's end it right here, as you'll see the Spartans head to the sidelines. And time will run out here in this one this afternoon. Fast start for Franklin. Big turnovers early for Manchester. Put them in a hole, but they hung in there. They were down 17-0 after that first quarter. Held scoreless, both teams in the second quarter. But then once Franklin got the football to start that third quarter, they kind of rolled from there.
They got back to what is in their identity, and that's running the ball with Cora. And sometimes it's that simple. Get back to what you do and affect the game in that manner. And I feel like they play more inspired in the second half, so huge credit to Franklin.
And, of course, with that win, as we mentioned, they're now 4-2 in the conference. No matter what happens next week, they'll end up with a conference at least winning record. Love to get to 5-5 on the road next week at Hanover. Meanwhile, Manchester plays Anderson, as we said earlier. That's a game that you certainly want to go out on a winning note with 2 teams that'll have no wins going in.
The season's been tough for the Spartans, but they have an opportunity to end on a high note and go get your one and only win next week going into the offseason, which is what I think will bode well for this Coach Hunt staff and players as they go into year 2 next year.
All right, Jared, good to see you again, sir. Good job as always. And, of course, you'll have some high school football next week. You get some regional action on Friday
Delta
night.
For Delta and Chittard.
Yeah, going to be a fun one. The defending champions in 3A. Thank you, and thanks to the entire crew here this afternoon. Thanks for watching. Great to have you here on HCAC TV.